It is such moments that define the human in us. Those moments measure the joy, the agony, and the despair in us. So how long will you be wearing pampers? These moments tell us that indeed our lives are destined for something greater than mere survival, and that our hopes and inspirations are what will define our tomorrow. This week we share with you a story of betrayal of trust in love. Sometimes your story is my story, and that's what makes us African. When your joy becomes my joy, and your sorrows become my sorrows. Join me, Zuena Chirema, every Sunday as we unveil the stories of our lives here on Life Stories.
There's a person who is going to rise up. There's an individual that is going to rise up, and he's going to be so vocal in defiance. So vocal in defiance.
I've had my eyes open. My eyes open to the spirit realm. I have seen angels. I've seen fallen spirits. I've come out of my body. I've seen things that are outside of my geographical location. I've literally everything that you have read about the Prophet Elisha, I have experienced it.
Do you believe that the excitement of life lies in its uncertainty? Or would you rather know what the future holds for you? And if you did, would you continue making the same choices that you're making right now, knowing for sure what the future holds? For what you don't know can indeed hurt.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
House Call is brought to you by
Mr. Action!
Mr. Action has proven he is the best. Knock out headaches with Action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mr. Money!
Send your money instantly. Top up your airtime instantly. Pay your bills instantly. Airtel money instantly. Send your money instantly. Safety is guaranteed. It don't matter how far it is. It reaches safe and quickly. Pay your water bills immediately. Do the same for electricity and also pay for DSTV. Or top up airtime real quickly. Send your money instantly. Top up your airtime instantly. Pay your bills instantly. Airtel money instantly. With Airtel Money, you can send money across networks, pay bills, top up to get bonus, and more. With Airtel Money, you can do more instantly. Dial *185# to get started.
Airtel Money. Simple, secure, instant.
NTV, turning on your world.
NTV etala gye wekwatidde ekire ya munaku vaake mabega nolwekyo ke kaseera obenga weegata ku NTV ku ssaawa emu. Nze Patrick Mukasa nkulamusiza gy'otuusaako engalo gyebale olunaku lwa mukaaga kansubye nti ebintu bikutambulira si bubi. Olwaleero omusasi waffe Dean Boasava ali Pakwach ewali keetereekerero n'ebbugumu ery'okulaba enjuba ng'esisinkana n'omwezi olunaku olw'enkya. Kasooke tulabe kyagamba ate tubenga tugenda mu maaso. Dean Boasava. Kale kasooke tukomewo ko wano Dean Boasava ide ebintu ebirimu ebitonotono byakyagezaako okulongoosa. Tugenda kumudira benga tubuulira ebiri eyo omwezi gy'ogenda okubanga gulwanira n'enjuba olunaku olw'enkya kubanga n'abantu bagenda maaso n'okwetegekera ebintu. Kakati kasooke nkutuuseeko emitwe emikulu gye tulina ate tugende mu maaso n'amawulire gaffe mu bujjuvu. Yakwatibwa ekirindi afunye obujjanjabi agenda kuba ku matu alindiridde bwenkanya okuva mu kooti.
Batabukidde awo waggulu ku ka internet cafe.
Etemu mu Kampala babiri battiddwa e Kansanga songa ne muganda wa General Sejusa Yesse. Okulwanagana e Congo, Uganda eyagala kunnyonnyola ku bikompola ebyakubwa okuva e Congo nebigwa ku ludda lw'eno.
Neerabira era nensanga nga ndi mu njala.
Ate mu by'obulamu abakugu bannyonnyodde lwaki abantu abamu balumaaluma enjala ez'engalo n'obulabe bukirimu. NTV ku ssaawa emu nga bwe nakutegeeza nti Dean Boasava abadde alina obutonotono wabadde alongoosa ke kadde ate nkuzeeyo gy'ali atubuulire omwezi gy'ogenda okulwanira n'enjuba biki ebiriyo. Dean Boasava.
Weebale muganda wange Patrick, nkwebaza nnyo okubeera nga otuusizaako bulungi nnyo kye tuli mu kola eno. Twatuuse edda mu kitundu kino kye bayita Owenyi Primary School awagenda okubeera emikolo olunaku lw'enkya era nga tusuubira nti wano we wagenda okuba nga buli muntu wagenda okusobolera okulabira obulungi omwezi nga guyisinganya n'enjuba. Era mu mbeera y'emu olwaleero kye tusinga okubeerako nti kakati buli muntu ali mu kuteekateeka okulaba ki ekigenda okubeerawo olunaku lw'enkya. Abategeka bakyategeka ebintu byabwe, abantu abasinga obungi batuuka mu kitundu kino era nga ebbugumu lyo lingi nnyo kubanga ebintu ebisinga okubeera bingi nnyo waneno nti buli omu ateeseteese ekyo kyasuubira okuba ng'alaga olunaku lw'enkya. Mu kifo kino kyennyini we tuli ku ssomero lino lya Owenyi bataddewo ekijjukizo ekigenda okusigalawo nga kiri mu byafaayo nti wano omwezi mu mwaka bwe guti ogwa 2023 we gwayisinganyiza nga guli wamu n'enjuba era omukulembeze w'eggwanga asuubira okubeerawo olunaku lw'enkya ng'agenda kuba nga ayanjula ekigenda okubeerawo era nga n'abantu ab'enjawulo bangi nnyo abajja okubeera ku mukolo guno nga basuubira abantu abasoba mu 300 abagenda okubeera wano olunaku lw'enkya. Kye tugenda okukola kanjira nsooka okuteekateeka abantu bano tugenda komawo n'oluvannyuma ogira otutwala mu maaso mawulire gaffe nga bw'ogateeseteeseyo Patrick. Weebale nnyo.
Dean Bowasaba toyanzizaawo yagenda kubanga tutuusaako abantu be boogera n'engeri gye beetegeseemu mu kitundu ekyo maaso awo naye ketugende mu maaso embeera y'omukazi eyakwatibwa abasajja bagwira mu ngeri y'ekirindi kati egendedda mu nteeko oluvannyuma lw'okulongoosebwa wabula ab'ekibiina ki Action Aid abamulabirira bategeezezza nti yadde ng'agenda atereera omukazi ono kijja kumutwalira ebbanga okuwonera ddala okuggyako nga abamusobyako amateeka gabakangavudde.
Omukazi ono yaleetebwa wano mu maka ga Action Aid agamu ssabbiiti ezisoba mu 3 emabega oluvannyuma lw'okusibulwa mu ddwaliro e Mulago n'atya okudda awaka ng'agamba nti atiisibwatiisibwa. Bwe yatuukira wano yali mu mbeera mbi nnyo nga tasobola kutambula bulungi wadde okutuula oba okwebaka. Endabika ye nayo yali mbi nnyo naye kati bino byonna bigenze bitereera. Bwe yajjirwa mu ddwaliro e Mulago yali asiibuddwa wadde nga ye yali agamba nti akyawulira obulumi obw'amaanyi. Aba Action Aid baddamu ne bamutwala okulaba omusawo omulala eyamulongoosa mu bitundu bye ebyekyama ebyali byayolika.
There were 3 major difficulties the doctor examined. One was the situation around her private parts. There was an examination of her anal system, and then there was also some examination of her psychological state.
Kati essaawa eno mpulira bulungi kubanga n'obubi tebukyayitamu. No breeding is cha breeding. Nenga nkosebwa nenga si nnyo kale nga nkimanyi nti nja kuwona.
Akyafuna obujjanjabi era ng'atera n'addayo w'omusawo. Agamba nti kati ekisinga okumusumbuwa bye birowoozo nga n'ebiseera ebimu awulira nga yeekyaye n'ayagala n'okwejja mu bulamu.
Nandibadde mpona ne ebirowoozo by'abantu abo kubanga bajja kutuusa ekiseera bagambe mbu babasalira emyaka bwe ginaggwa nga basobola okubakola ki okubatikka ne babateeka ku nnyonyi ne babazaayo nze obulamu bwange n'ensigala mu matiga.
Kiddole kino kati kye kyafuuka munywanyi we naddala ng'ebirowoozo bimuyitiridde.
Nga n'okusaba kunnemye ono ye bebi ampe emirembe bwe mukwata bwe nti nga mpulira ki nga mpulira emirembe.
Ab'ekitongole kya Action Aid bagamba nti newankubadde ng'embeera y'omukazi ono egendedda mu nteeko bye by'okuwonera ddala byandiba ebizibu.
Psychologically, it's important that a sense of justice is also felt.
Gertrude Tumusime, Uitkware, NTV.
Ate abantu babiri be bafiiriddewo ekiro ekikeesezza olwaleero n'abalala ne bagendera ku bisago waneeka balagala mu Kampala omugwira bw'akoze akacyankalano. Ate yeebudde omusajja agambibwa okuba muganda wa General Sejjusa ye yeesudde mu kidiba n'afa oluvannyuma lwa muganda we okukomya okumuwa obuyambi.
Kire ekikeesezza olwaleero ekabalagala mu ggombolola y'e Makindye mu Kampala omusajja agambibwa okuba enzaalwa y'omu ggwanga lya Chad ye yeesudde mu jjulume n'asikambula akaso ku mutunzi w'ebikajjo n'afumita munnayuganda ategerekese nga Beka Boogezi n'amuttirawo.
Yafumise babiri ku baana babalinnyeeyo era omu ku bo yafudde amangu ddala nga yakatuusibwa mu ddwaliro e Mulago n'akuba n'omulala ekiti ekyabaddewo.
Ali Faruku Umaru Haruna agambibwa n'okukuba omupoliisi ettaffaali ku mutwe n'amulumya bya nsusso.
Omusirikale n'agezaako okuba amasasi waggulu omutisatisa naye ng'omwami yabadde ajja buzzi ng'ayagala naye mufumita kiso ekyaviiriddeko omusirikale omukuba amasasi oluvannyuma agamuleseeko ebisago eby'amaanyi ebyamuviiriddeko okufa.
Amasasi agakubiddwa poliisi galumiza n'omukazi Grace Nabwami gwe gaakubye ku ssaabiro.
Gw'oli mugwira ovudde ewammwe oze ewaffe tetukuvuma mandazi ofuna popcorn ofuna naye tosobola akoma ku ekyo n'okutuuta nga kw'otadde.
Poliisi egamba nti ekitegeddeko nti omukyadi abadde musawo wa kinnansi nga gwamu n'akazoole ekintu ababadde bamumanyi kibawakanya. Ate yo ku kyalo bweyale mu ggombolola y'e Lugusulu e Sembabule omusajja agambibwa okuba muganda wa General David Sejjusa Dani Mutungi Yesse kubigambibwa nti muganda we takyamuwa buyambi.
Kubanga yabadde kitaawe era nyina kubanga buli kimu ekizibu kyonna kyonna kibadde kijja wonna wakaawe oba ekizize ku bulamu bwe ng'oli muganda we yalina omuyamba.
Kigambibwa nti Mutungi ow'emyaka 57 yasoose kunywa butwa ate oluvannyuma ne yeesula mu kidiba ekinywerwamu ente. Abooluganda lw'omugenzi Mutungi batubuulidde nti munnaabwe abaddemu akajabangu era nga yali yeewera dde okwejja mu budde. Sejjusa bwe yali tannaddukira Bungereza ab'eŋŋanda ze yabawanga ebintu n'ensimbi. Kitaawe wa Sejjusa Simon Peter Rwajojo asabye Pulezidenti Museveni asonyiwe mutabani we kuba obulamu bwabwe si bwe bumu.
Njagala busonyiwe abuyita bwe kumuteekako okwakulizo tubalijja atibwe basibwe bayisa baki abusonyiwe bakasisi babusala omusango gw'okufa.
Omugenzi Mutungi yakolako mu kakiiko akagaba emirimu mu disitulikiti y'e Sembabule okumala emyaka 10.
Ate oluvannyuma lw'Abannayuganda okulumirizibwa ebikompola n'amasasi agakubwa mu Uganda ku Lwokubiri n'Olwokusatu lwa Ssabbiiti eno, Uganda eyagala kufuna kunnyonnyolwa engeri embeera eno gye yatuukawo. Mu kiseera kino omubaka wa Uganda mu Kishasha ayitiddwa abeeko byategeeza abakulu mu Uganda ko n'engeri ensonga eno gye neekwatibwamu. Ye Minisita Musa Echero awubyeko olubu lw'ebigere mu kitundu ky'e Bunagana okulaba ku mbeera nga mbweri. Ate mu mawulire amalala, enjala mu by'obulamu. Enjala y'emu ku bintu ebisooka okutunulirwa ku muntu era nga y'ensonga lwaki abantu babulwako emirembe singa enjala zaabwe zifuna obulabe. Abasinze okubonaabona mu mbeera eno be bantu abaluma enjala. Olwaleero mu by'obulamu tubaleetedde ekiviiriddeko abantu okuluma enjala n'engeri omuze guno omuntu gy'asobola okugulekayo.
Enjala zino kye kintu ssali kyatayagala ku mubiri gwe era nga n'ekisinze okuzimutamya y'endabika yaazo eva ku kuzirumanga. Era yagaanye n'okwoleka kamera amaaso ge kubanga kye kintu kyateenyumirizaamu n'akatono. Agamba omuze gw'okuluma enjala agezaako okugwejjamu naye gukyagaanye.
Neerabira era nensanga nga ndi mu njala naye ngezezaako.
Ng'oggyeko ye yennyini okubulwa emirembe, abantu abatera okumuba okumpi ng'omwagalwa we ne nnyina nabo yabasobera dda.
Maama wange yantwala ne mu kyaki ng'agambye nti kisusse nti gino mpaka gino mizimu, mwana ali enjala ne bansabira ne ba anointing ki.
Dr. Dorothy Kizza omukugu mu by'obwongo agamba nti ssali okuba nti okuluma enjala kimubuzizzaako emirembe ly'eddaala erisooka okulwanyisa omuze guno kubanga waliwo n'abatakitwala ng'ekizibu.
Ate ebiseera ebisinga obungi emize be giba gituludde nagyo tekiba kyangu kyagikola ki kyakugivaako. So kati bw'aba agenze n'afuna omukugu mu ebyo omukugu ebiseera ebisinga obungi omukugu ayinza okuba I think mu normal language tulaba kwayita bakansala naye ate okubanga ali advanced.
Ekiddako kwe kuzuula ebiseera omuntu waalumira enjala. Ebiseera ebisinga batera okuziruma nga banyiize nnyo nga beeraliikirivu nga tebalina kye bakola oba nga kye bakola kibatwalirizza nnyo omwoyo.
Oli amuyamba okufuna engeri endala ey'okukola ki ey'okugonjoolamu ensonga eno okusinga okukola ki okubeera awo ng'aluma enjala ezo.
Wano nno waagambira nti okumanya ddi lw'oluma enjala kikuyamba ekiseera ekyo okukikolamu ekintu ekirala. Ekyokulabirako, omuntu waba talina kyakukola oba ng'alina ekimweraliikiriza ayinza okukuba ekivuga oba okukozesa engalo ze ne zitasibira mu kamwa. So nga n'okubaako ky'ogaaya kiyinza okuyamba obutatwala ngalo mu kamwa okutandika okuziruma. Okuzikuuma nga zirabika bulungi nga nsiige oba nga nsale bulungi nakyo kiyambako. Omuntu asobola okuyambibwako abakugu okumala ebbanga lya myezi nga 3.
Oba muwane ne homework gw'aba alina okukola eka. Kale ebiseera ebisinga obungi homework oyo abantu abakaluubirira. Kugalabika nga gozizza mu ssomero bwe mpita homework kubanga alina okugamba nti kati oluma aluma enjala. So kati olina okuddayo eka bw'olaba nti oba n'abantu abeera kati aliko organize nga tafunye ekizibu ate agenda okuluma enjala n'akola ki. So kati aba alina okuba nti akeepinga record ddi lwe yafunye okwagala okukola ki. Yawudde nti ayagala okuluma aluma enjala neki kye yakoze.
Ng'oggyeko okuba nti okuluma enjala kiyinza okumalira omuntu obudde okukola ekintu ekirala. Mu njala omwo mwekwekamu obuwuka obuleeta endwadde ezitali zimu so nga n'engalo zisobola okulwala endwadde eziyitibwa infections mu luzungu.
W'okutte totegeddeewo tokoze kyatuma tojja kumala genda kunaaba mu ngalo olwoka otandika okukola ki okuluma enjala. Kati obuwuka olaba otandika obukola ki okubulya. So kati tutandika okufuna oluusi ebiwuka n'obuwuka obulala obw'enjawulo.
Enjala kika kya lususu era nga ziyamba okukuuma obusimu obusangibwa mu ngalo, ziyamba mu kwetakula ssaako okusumulula ebintu ne mu kukwata oba okulonda obuntu obutono ennyo. Eky'okuziruma kikaluubiriza okukola obulungi emirimu gyazo gino. Irene Namyalo, NTV.
NTV ku ssawemo tugenda kubulamu katono ddala tukumewo n'amawulire amalala mangi tova ku TV eno. Enjuba okusisinkana omwezi kino kyaliwo emyaka 5 emabega kyakuddamu okubaawo oluvannyuma lw'emyaka 10. Mu byemizannyo bannayuganda Muhumuza ne Segawa bawangudde enzannya zaabwe.
Now that Airtel and Worried have merged, can I use Airtel airtime cards on my 070 number or Worried airtime cards on my 075 number?
Yes, you may recharge a 070 or 075 number with either Airtel or Worried airtime cards. You're now part of a circle of 7.2 million friends. Enjoy the celebrations. Airtel.
The nose in the air. Hakuna Matata. Everybody rise up, get up, stand up. Happy people dance to the beat. Let us celebrate. Uganda celebrate. Celebrate.
Reham Cola. Taste it. Believe it.
Tonight on NTV.
Polo team to 2 consecutive wins, which has turned him into a young Hercules. Today,
ready to be tantalized. I have something for you. Please stop. Not now, special. Not now, not now. Sure, yeah. Well, I have something really important to tell you.
What's so important?
Tonight on NTV.
Kulikayo mukumulamu okereke tugende mu maaso n'amawulire gaffe. Ensi erindiridde olunaku lw'enkya lutuuka okusobola okulaba bangi kye bayise enjuba okulwana n'omwezi. Ekyamagero kino kisuubirwa okubeerawo wakati wa ssaawa 10 ne 12 ez'olweggulo. Olunaku lwa leero NTV eyogeddeko ne kakensa mu nsonga zino okwongera okugitangazaako.
Mu kaseera kano ng'abalambuzi bangi beeyongera okweyibwa mu bitundu by'omu mambuka ga Uganda okusobola okulaba ekyamagero ekigenda okubeerawo olunaku lw'enkya. Bingi bize byogerwa ku kintu kino. Abakugu mu ngeri enjuba gyetambulamu bongedde okututangaaza lwaki olunaku lw'enkya lugenda kubeera olw'amagero.
Kyasemba okubaawo emyaka 547 emabega mu mwezi gw'okusatu ennaku 16 omwaka 1466. Ekirala kigenda kubeerawo ku lunaku lw'abajulizi Juni nga 3 mwaka 2014.
Abakugu mu science bawakanya endowooza y'abannaddiini abamu sako n'endowooza abantu abamu gye balina ey'ebyobuwangwa. Anyonyola n'ebigenda okubeerawo mu budde obwo.
Bw'oba obyadde ku kasana nga kakwokya bulungi n'ogenda ku kisiikirizo owulira empewo etandika okufuuwa. Kati teebereza nga olaba ekisiikirizo ekiguba omusana kitiisa. Ekirala nti ebisolo ebyebakamisana ne bizuukuka kiro, ebiyenje, obuwundo, ebyo byonna ebisolo bitandika okuzuuka.
Bano bagamba nti yadde abantu mu Kampala tebajja kufuna mukisa gwa kulaba mwezi nga gulwanagana n'enjuba, wajja kubeerawo enkyukakyuka ezimu. Amagezi gaweereddwa ku ngeri y'okulabamu ekyamagero kino.
Oyinza okukozesa telescope togitunulamu bwoti, naye oyinza ogikwata enjuba neeyita mu telescope n'ogisa ku kantu keeru.
Baba ekitongole kya Uganda Red Cross nabo batunnyonnyola enteekateeka eziteereddwawo okuyamba abantu abagambibwa okubanga baliyo 3.5 abeeye Enebbi ne Pakwach okulaba ekyamagero kino.
Tulinawo ambulance gye tutaddemu eddagala lyonna erina abalyetaagisa, ate era tukolagana ne district eya Nebbi nga tusazeewo omuntu wanaaba afunye obuvune obw'amaanyi tujja kumuddusa ku ddwaliro erya Pakwach Health Center.
Olunaku lw'enkya abantu mu nsi ez'enjawulo omuli Gabon, Congo Brazzaville, DRC ne Somalia bakufuna omukisa okulaba ekyamagero kino wabula bonna bakukira mu ngeri ez'enjawulo. Suhail Mugabi, NTV kusawemu.
Ekiri pakwaki kyetaaga kwedabirako kubanga oli bwakunyumiza ayinza okuyisa oba nakubulira ebyo byotasaanye kuwulira oba nateekamu obulimba. Dindu bwawasava ali mu kitundu ekyo era twagala atubuulire ebiri eyo ng'ayogerako n'abantu abatuuse yedda okulindirira olunaku olw'enjala. Dindu bwawasava.
Webale nnyo muganda wange Patrick nga bwe tuli balina kutegeezeza nti ddala twatuuse dda mu kifo kino kye bayita Owenyi ekiyongedde okubeera eky'omutawaanira kakati nga kiri mu byafaayo bya Uganda yonna wano awatali kuddamu kukyusa kwonna okuggyako nga zina bantegeka za Katonda we tugenda okulabira omwezi nga guyisinganya n'enjuba oba kye bayinza okugamba okulwanagana n'enjuba era abamu ku be tugenda okubeera nabo waliwo omukyala bamuyita Kizito y'omu ku abo bagenda okuba nga batunyonyola ki ekigenda okubeerawo olunaku olw'enkya kuba be bali mu nteekateeka eno okulaba nga batuusa ku ki ekinaabeerawo. Nyabo jebaleko.
Kale sebo nawe jebaleko.
Ki ekigenda okubeerawo olunaku lw'enkya?
Olunaku lw'enkya tusuubira omwezi n'enjuba okubanga birwanagana ku ssaawa 10:15. Era omugenyi omukulu ye president.
Mu nteekateeka mutegese mutya kubeera nga omukolo guno gubeere nga gwa kitiibwa kubanga gugenda kubanga gulabibwa ensi yonna?
Weewaawo omukolo gugenda kuba gwa kitiibwa lwansonga ne security weeri tutegese kuvira ddala ku bunyomero kuvira ddala abantu gye basula security gyeri. We tuli wano wennyini ku Owinyi primary buli kimu kitambula bulungi.
Abantu musuubira bameka olunaku lw'enkya okujja kubanga abantu ndaba bangi bakyatuuka n'okutuuka kati musuubira bameka?
Bayinza okuwera emitwalo 2. Abantu bavudde mu mawanga ag'ebweru abantu bavudde mu nsi yonna okujja okulaba ki happeninga eclipse kyeki omuntu ajjabuza eclipse kyeki abasookawo abagiraba baafa dda n'abazzukulu baafa dda n'abaana be bazaala omwaka 10 it's 1419 so today it is 2013 kakitegeeza weeriddamu gwere mutabani wo ne muzzukulu wo temugenda girabako omukisa gwa nkya gokka.
Mu ng'ogyeko okwerinda okubeera abasirikale tubalabye abakuumaddembe bonna buli wamu waali we bali mu kitundu kino. Enteekateeka gye muteeseteese tugeze mu by'okusula na biki abantu bangi nnyo ate bifo tulaba mu byongezeza abamu bagenda kusulawa.
Abantu bafunye aw'okusula ebifo bikyali bingi ddala abatannajja osobola okukwata bbaasi ey'essaawa emu ey'essaawa 3 ssaawa 10 ojja kuba otuuse mu Pakwaki. Abeevuga ekiro kya leero emmotoka zitambula security weeri n'ebifo bikyali bingi ebisulwamu ssente nga bw'omanyi nti ekintu kigwa ekiswa kyabuuse.
Okugeza Pakwaki nga district wamu n'ekifo kino Owenyi awagenda okubeera omukolo guno gugenda okuba ogw'ebyafaayo kigenda kufuniramu wa era kigenda kusigala nga kiki kye kinajjukira ekinasigala nga kibawa mu byenfuna yammwe wano?
Okwogera ku sayidi eya Pakwaki bagenda kumanyika ensi yonna bafunye omukisa munene nnyo kubanga buli tourist yenna ali wano era abantu abatannajja mbakubiriza banguweko. Njogera ku sayidi eya Global Village ekyalina ebisulo ebimala n'abagalo campinga waliwo space gye twabategekedde.
Nga Global Village wano abantu babulijjo abantu abasinga ku naddala mu mirimu gino emitonotono abantu gye bafuna bo mubategekedde mutya kubanga tulaba bo bamufuna mpola bagenda kubanga bafuniramuwa?
Bamufuna mpola buli omu akkirizibwa okutunda kyalina afune kyayagala era baweebwa omukisa okutambula wonna si ky'abantu bali high class wabula twagenze paka ku lower class.
Webale nnyo kubanga obudde bwo butulira mpingo bw'egyokolera tebutukkiriza kubeera nga tweyongerayo naye tujja kuddamu nate n'omulundi omulala. Bwetutyo bwe tubadde olunaku lw'olwaleero tukyali mu nteekateeka ezisembayo era nga buli omu akola kyonna ekikolebwa. Tuli Pakwaki wano mu district mu kifo kye bayita Owenyi Primary School. Ekimu ku ebyo ebiyingidde mu byafaayo era nga tusuubira nti gwe mulundi ogusembyeyo oba kubanga sisuubira nti kinaddamu okubeera ate mu kifo kino kyennyini. Nze Dini Lubo Wasava abadde agezaako okutuusaako byonna ebiri wano eno ate era nga n'olunaku lw'enkyera tugenda kubeera nga mutoota buliro nnyo nga tubaweereza ebyo byonna ebiri wano okutuusiza ddala ng'omukolo gutuuse ku ntiko yaagwo. Abantu bangi nnyo abagenda okubeerawo. Mwebale nnyo mwena wabula mbazaayo eri muganda wange Patrick Kamala nga tumaze okuwumulamu atagenda yekomawo okubeera ng'abongera ekitundu ekyokubiri eky'ebyemizannyo. Patrick Mukasa kabongero batwala maaso. Nze Dini Lubo.
Diru yo! It's time to go dancing in Aringo, because if you're on Airtel or Worried, you stand a chance to win up to 5 million shillings every day.
I'm on my way coming,
Yeah.
so just be ready to enjoy this 5M.
Twabale yo mu namba gamba abakazanyi gye kali kato. Nimbasaba muzana kazano ka diriyo nimwe muhangure sente nkizina hangura.
Yes, 5 million shillings, ayo Diru yo! All you have to do is SMS the word WIN to 188, answer the simple questions that follow, and then you will enter a draw to come to NTV and get a chance to simply pick a box and win loads of cash. Only with Airtel.
There's a person who is going to rise up. There's an individual that is going to rise up, and he's going to be so vocal in defiance. So vocal in defiance.
I've had my eyes open. My eyes open to the spirit realm. I have seen angels. I've seen fallen spirits. I've come out of my body. I've seen things that are outside of my geographical location. I've literally everything that you have read about the prophet Elisha, I have experienced it.
Do you believe that the excitement of life lies in its uncertainty? Or would you rather know what the future holds for you? And if you did, would you continue making the same choices that you're making right now, knowing for sure what the future holds? For what you don't know can indeed hurt.
Must Watch is brought to you by
Welcome to the new world.
Meet Byron and Tiffany. He's not ready to settle down.
You know how many women want you right now?
She wants a commitment
Tiffany, I have a plan.
and needs Shantae's help to make it happen.
Before you can conquer the beast, you must first understand the nature of the beast. Welcome to the new world. Welcome to the new world.
NTV Sport is brought to you by
a name that is made of more.
Mu by'emizannyo tutandise ne bannayuganda abeeraze ebyanyi mu bikonde by'okusunsulamu abanayingizibwa mu bibinja ebyenjawulo ebiri ku ddala ery'ensi yonna. Fred Muhumuza yawangudde Patrick Amote ate Yesula Segawa n'awutula Have Zongo.
Fred Muhumuza yakubye munna Kenya Patrick Amote ate Yesula Segawa n'aggunda omukongo Have Zongo ekikondevu omwange. Muhumuza yazanye round 10 zonna era abasazi ne bassa kimu nga nkuyege nti yakize Patrick Amote. Amote yakubiddwa engumi nnyingi mu maaso ezaamuviiriddeko okujja omusaayi naye n'aguma masajja era n'amalako round zize zonna 10.
Ekyasenga mpanguddwa ntwenize bulungi era nzanye bulungi naye nga ne bwenzanye bulungi ntya badde nkimanyi Uganda nkimanyi sisobola gguwo tebasobola gumpangu twale Kenya mbimanyi ebya sport.
Eno feti ye badde amaanyi nnyo musajja w'amaanyi musajja mugumu tabadde asingako ne kiro emu naye ogamba asobodde okumalako nanga w'amaanyi ge kiro gyabadde asingako yokka.
Mu bikonde bino ebyabaddemu ebyokusunsulamu abaneegatta ku ddala ly'ensi yonna, Sula Segawa yawuttudde Have Zongo engumi ez'okumukumu ekyaviiriddeko Zongo okusuulawo ttawulo yeewonye okumuttira mu miguwa. Ono yapondose mu rawundi ya 6. Enzannya eziddako ez'okusunsulamu zaakuzanyibwa ku ntandikwa y'omwaka ogujja.
ate yo tiimu ya KCCA ya volleyball ey'abasajja ekubye ginayo eya Jinja obugoba 3-1 neyongera okutangaza emikisa gyayo egy'okwesoga empaka ez'akamalirizo mu mpaka ez'ekibinja ekyokubiri mu ligi y'eggwanga. Ate bo aba Sky Volleyball Club nabo bakubye abekazaako eri abamuzeeyi ne beesoga oluzannya olusembayo mu mpaka ez'ekibinja ekyokusatu. Katulabe ebibaddeyo.
Era mu luzannya olwokusatu tugendagenda mu luzannya olwokusatu nga tuli bamaanyi nnyo kye tukoze olwaleero tugenda kwongera ku bwongezi era nsuubira bwe kataligirya tujja kubanga tuddayo mu kibinja ekisooka omwaka ogujja.
A name that is made of more.
Entebeza y'obudde ekyuka buli lunaku bwe bukyasi bwe buziba kati tulabe entebeza y'obudde ey'olunaku olw'enkya.
New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer. Come on, they're asleep. New Mortin Doom Power Guard. Nothing kills faster and keeps killing for longer.
Tusobodde okufunira olunaku olwaleero nze Patrick Mukasa naye nkutegeeza nti kola by'olina okukola era oyogere by'olina okwogera weewala okwekirira nga wetulwakiika embuga nti omwami bwedda ayogera nga musimbi abiri n'omubuuza nti gwate ayina erimu eryokubiri walijjewa subula bulungi weeraba.
NTV, turning on your world.
You don't want to miss our wonderful Mediterranean skewers all the way to South America, and we're going to enjoy a wonderful Lao Lao.
Wow.
Roasting cassava and bring back memories. Look at that. It's succulent on the inside, crispy on the outside, delicious all the way. Simple, easy. You don't have to be the best of all chefs.
Today's highlight with
Nice and Lovely Body Lotion.
You have information that I am in need of very urgently. Did I not remind you that I pay handsomely?
You know who is sick? I am sick and tired of having people on my payroll that do not deliver what I ask them to do.
I'm so stressed. I need legal representation.
Are you in love with Agnes?
No. What?
New and improved Nice and Lovely Body Lotion. The 24-hour skin moisturizer that's your skin's best friend.
The best in me.
This is NTV. This program is rated PG.
It is suitable for children ages 8 and above, but parental guidance is advised as it might contain mild violence and mature situations.
The unbeatable Batsuke.
Brought to you by
Akpasipi. Keep sipping.
Welcome to Japan's legendary Temple of Champions, where athletes gather to face the most difficult challenges ever conceived. Testing balance, endurance, and sheer strength. Competitors have one goal: beat the course. But victory is elusive, and the only constant is the bitter taste of defeat. This is the ultimate competition of man versus obstacle. Who will top the unbeatable Batsuke?
筋肉番付へようこそ。私加藤圭がこのチャンピオンの殿堂よりあなたにお届けしています。20以上もの信じられないような挑戦で。
A certain level of individuality.
Why do men cheat?
A, because they can get away with it.
If I'm not ready for whatever it is and I say I don't think it's the right time, why must it mean run around?
I don't believe that partners are supposed to be equal.
You should not reveal information that is not going to help you.
Men, every Wednesday at only on NTV.
You take a walk through Kampala, especially Kampala Road, Jinja Road, you will not miss almost disco lights. Have you ever picked money off the streets, or would you pick money if you saw it? Are you the one who dropped this money here? Are you?
No. Are you?
But by the mere fact that it is in my compound, it is in my proximity. Have you heard of the word convictor?
Me being a thief does not deprive me of.
But right, don't stop being
what right
human.
do you have as a thief? No, zero
as
one.
a human being, period.
Yeah, they say, we have also had.
Abana bebazaala kate mu myaka 10 maaso bajja kufuna effect olw'ekiwunye ekyo leero tekiwunye.
Gentleman is not an engineer.
Instead of the man feelings.
Don't ask me questions.
When I got closer, his member was dismembered.
For this note?
No, what I am saying is Mr. Sembacha does not seem.
Okechi bamubire ngatoze kumbe kitunda kikugune.
The court has reached a verdict.
Have you ever seen Enchima? Checho cholabao.
Lwaki bakutuma katamula?
Is that your business? Can you please control yourselves?
Madam, I have a baby at home.
Nange nkityamu oluusi naye nga mwebale nnyo. Ababoda mwebale kubanga mutulengera mpozi n'abanyakuzi n'abakubi b'obutayimbwa ani kyoyagala okumanya oluyimba lwo akaakabi ani akoze atya ani ali luddawa ani akoze kaliwa byonna
sirigolola sikuba ngumi siri masannyalaze ojjanga n'onkwatako nga bebe kkulu ndi ku kase
tuli live wano. Kasavukanya mu muziki omulungi omukadde omupya.
Amma kati okuze ne mami wo tata yomba. I'm next on stage now. Ready?
Wow.
Inagiro gyebesuuliranga nenzijukira n'ebibindi bye banfuuyiranga.
I got no time to play no game.
Wanoka ku TV yo gomanyi mwe munamanya.
When we meet people who are different from us, we tend to ostracize them.
Kati guno gwe tumazeeko
gubadde gwa 22 ali wasi mulwadde.
I asked him what is happening there. She said that I don't have a leg.
Yet it is these differences that bring out our individual uniqueness. Fear.
They told me that we have done our part. God is also to do his part.
Despair.
I just looked at myself as someone who is not going to survive definitely.
But I remember crying because my feet were hurting and they were swollen at the time.
Sawa eno nga nazze kuzaala. Nkuzaalisa. Kuzaalisa dda bulungi.
Life stories.
I'm probably in Metropolis. I do this for the love, so this is non-profit shit. I'm bored walking, so you can call this monopoly.
Log in.
NTV so magnetic.
Bobanga dalo yagala kunya omuntu tabeera nze.
I don't even know what to ask you because I just feel like I'm standing next to Juliana.
But not the sugar, the salt, the bread, but bought the best in order to promote all the sectors that you've got.
For the glitz and glamour of Kampala's most flamboyant people and events.
The exclusive, woo! I love it!
I'm so bored up right now.
Log in only on NTV.
Have a baby by me, baby. Be a millionaire, I write the check before the baby comes.
NTV, turning on your world.
Good evening and thank you for watching NTV tonight. Uganda is in a state of demographic transition. We have one of the fastest growing and of course youngest populations in the world. Now as a result of these monumental changes, Uganda is going to have to adopt a paradigm shift to create a robust and efficient pension sector. Question asked, what measures can be taken to achieve this much vaunted social safety net that will deliver a reasonable standard of living for those who have retired and, of course, protect their benefits? I'm your host, Ben Wine, sitting in for Patrick Kamara, and on the spot tonight is Moses Bekabye, the Interim Chief Executive Officer of the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. Thanks a lot for joining us, Moses. It's good to have you tonight.
Yeah.
You happen to have a lot of answers to give to questions that we are going to put before you on the spot, I like to call it, and that's why you are on the spot tonight.
Yes.
As we jump into it right away, the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, very many words. What do they stand for as far as Ugandans are concerned?
The Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority is an entity that was created by an act of parliament by the government to regulate the pension sector as a whole. And this covers all the retirement benefit schemes or pension schemes for that matter in the country and also including in the private and public sector. Basically to oversee the establishment, management and operation of all pension schemes and ensuring, with the objective of ensuring that these savings by employees or those who save, especially those who are employed both in private and public sector, are actually protected.
First question, of course, that follows up after that is, what is the responsibility of the state, or in this case, the government of Uganda, regarding pension?
Yes, I think that's a good question. The government of Uganda, like any other governments around the world, they have a responsibility to ensure that its citizens live a decent life, welfare. So it's a responsibility of the government, which is also actually stated in the Constitution, that government has the obligation, the duty to provide the social safety net to its people. So the government has a responsibility to ensure that everyone in the country, whether they're employed or not, actually have a social protection safety net. And this is why the government is undertaking these reforms. And also that's why government is in a parallel way, as we are doing, is also implementing the grant program, which is covering 14 countries and so on. This is aimed at slowly
14 districts.
14 districts.
Yeah.
And this is aimed at putting in place the blocks that will ensure over the longer term social protection for all citizens in the country.
Now, of course, when you talk about social protection, you're talking about protecting people who are employed and not employed. Uganda happens to be in a very unique position, the most unique in the world, in that, first of all, we've got a very young population. Secondly, we have quite a bit of a high unemployment rate among our working force. And then, of course, we have a very big bulk of our population that are currently living under the poverty line. How does all this fit into having an efficient pension?
I think let me talk about it in a broader context. The government has the responsibility, of course, to ensure that its citizens have a protection, this social protection. But also government has, in order to achieve this, government has to implement things that grow the economy. One of the key things that the government is doing is right now trying to invest a lot of money in infrastructure, education, health, and so on, is to ensure that the economy actually grows. Once the economy grows, the savings go up, of things that people can save for their retirement, or for retirement, they may have other saving vehicles to actually provide a social protection system for themselves.
Right now, the current state of our pension system, the only thing you hear about it really mostly is bad news in the papers about someone has stolen our money, and usually a lot of it. What's the current status of our pension system in the country right now?
Right now, and I must say, since 2008, we've been implementing reforms to address some of these issues. I must say that the pension system as it is still has governance problems because of the scandals you're talking about. It has low coverage, meaning that most of the people, people of them, are not covered by social protection. Only about a total of about 7% are employed. Are covered by social protection coverage.
That's a very dismal number, isn't it? I mean, 7% of your population being covered as far as pension is concerned is quite alarming.
So it's the duty of the government really look out beyond those who are employed. But even then, those who are also employed, some of them are not actually covered. Even those ones who are covered, some of them don't get their pensions. So that's why government is undertaking this sweeping to come up with a system that is efficient and a system that is robust enough, and also to increase coverage so that more people who are mostly in the informal sector, you mentioned a few in the formal employment, majority of them, about 85%, they are in informal, a national coverage in terms of social protection. You really have to look at these people who are employed in the informal sector and those who are self-employed.
If I take you quickly back to the discussion regarding the formal sector, and of course we've got the public service, we've got the very small percentage of people who are in the formal sector and the military services as well. Are you suggesting that the shortcomings that we have right now in our system is because of how it has been run? Is it a governance issue? Is it lack of proper checks? Is that what the policy is about in terms of all the reforms that we are currently trying to undertake?
Yeah, there are a lot of issues or constraints or problems that the reform is trying to address. Is governance. That's one of the biggest problems, and that has a problem of creating a lack of trust and confidence in the system. So without trust and confidence in the system, you can't build a pension system, because there is a lot of trust that is required in order for
you're playing with people's money, so trust and is always going to be one of the biggest pillars for something like that.
Yes, but also as I mentioned, there's the issue of coverage, expanding coverage beyond what we have now. Last time I said in Kenya right now, they are not very good, but they are much better than we are. Their coverage is about 20%, But many other countries are between 40, 50, 60%, and some countries in Europe or America, they are close to 90% coverage. We're only at 7%. Then thirdly, also the system needs to be funded. Both the public service pension scheme and also some of the schemes which are non-mandatory, some of them are not fully funded, including the voluntary schemes. Some of the voluntary schemes are not well governed. Some of them are well governed, but some of them are not well governed. And therefore, it's the intention of the government to address some of these issues, which impact on the benefits of the savers. And then lastly, as we do these things, and as we reform the sector, we also address the issue of low savings in the economy. Low savings means that the economy doesn't have enough monies which it can depend on its own without depending on external sources to finance its development. And this is a very, very secondary issue. But the primary objectives is really to protect these savings and also the investments arising out of these savings.
You're saying we're still depending on other people to run our country, which is never holds you in good stead as a country, does it? It creates a lot of problems.
That's correct. And in the case of the public service pension scheme, as you know, it's always in arrears. It is a system that is non-funded right now. We are looking at gradually moving to a system that is contributory so that people can save money, and monies are transferred there either on a monthly or quarterly basis, like the public service, like the NSSF is, in order to be invested so that they can get a return on this one particular time, how much savings they have.
So they're doing that. Will the government be contributing as well as, because right now the NSSF scheme, you've got your employer giving some money to you as well as you, of course, contributing to that. Are you suggesting that the public service would be under some sort of similar structure?
Yes. In the interim period, there's going to be kind of like what we call a hybrid. A hybrid meaning having a combination of the defined benefits, the system which is not contributory like it is now, combined with a contributory system, but gradually moving incrementally to a system that is contributory. So in the interim period, it's going to be a dual system, kind of.
Thank you very much, Moses. We take a very short break. When we get back, we continue with our discussion regarding the ongoing pension reforms in the country, of course, something that very much affects you and your future in very many ways. When we get back, we talk a little bit about voluntary versus mandatory contributions. How does that affect you? How does that work? And then, of course, some two confusing words for many people regarding these ongoing pension reforms. Liberalization versus privatization. What's the talk about that, of course, give you a chance to be a part of the discussion as well. And you can join us on our social media, NTV Uganda on Facebook and our Twitter handle at NTV Uganda if you want to ask a question or share your thoughts. And we'll get back into that when we come back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
The 5th annual Top 100 Gala Dinner is here. Get seated among the great this November as Daily Monitor and KPMG recognize the 2013 Top 100 Entrepreneurial Giants. Be part of this inspiring Gala Dinner on Friday, November 8th, 2013 at the Helipad Kampala Serena Hotel. Tickets are limited at only 150,000 shillings. For reservations, call Lydia on 0706 188 046. This award is sponsored by Stanbic Bank, Sage Pastel, and I say, getting better, growing stronger, going higher.
Diru yo! It's time to go dancing in Aringo, because if you're on Airtel or worried, you stand a chance to win up to 5 million shillings every day.
I'm on my way coming,
Yeah.
so just be ready to enjoy this 5M.
Twabare yo mu namba gamba abakazanyi je kali kato nimbasaba muzana kazano ka diriyo ninu muhangure sente nkizina hangura.
Yes, 5 million shillings. Ayo Diru yo! All you have to do is SMS the word win to 188, answer the simple questions that follow, and then you will enter a draw to come to NTV and get a chance to simply pick a box and win loads of cash.
Only with Airtel.
One reason to love Uganda, brought to you by
Air Uganda.
We rely on border borders to zip us quickly to our destination. Did you know that they started in the 1960s? They were used to transport people between the Kenya and Uganda border to avoid paperwork. Hence the term border border, the reason I love Uganda. One reason to love Uganda, brought to you by
Air Uganda,
the wings of East Africa.
Welcome back to On the Spot. My name is Ben Mwine. On the Spot tonight, Moses Bekabye, Interim CEO at the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority. And we're talking about what's going to happen to your money when you retire, how you're going to get it, and how it's going to be managed, of course, something that you want to pay a lot of attention to. Just before we went into the break, we're talking about what's happening in terms of the system, the way it is, what seems to be wrong with it, what we can do to fix it. I wanted to find out, do we have a number in terms of a target that you want to hit regarding the percentage of people that are contributing? Right now we're at 7%, so it's a very small number. The other countries you mentioned before we went into the break about the US, Europe, most of them are above 80, 90%, which is where you want to be as a country, really. Do we have a number in mind in terms of where we want to be? When do we hope to get there?
Yes. When you look at what we have today, and if we their retirement, then that can start going up to probably in the medium term about 40%, and then over the longer term you're looking at 60 to 70%, and in some countries it's about 80%.
Yeah. Now there are two words that you keep on mentioning. I think you probably mentioned them about 6 or 7 times since we started the show. Trust and confidence. Some of the must have for an efficient pension sector. What are the big things that must be benchmarked on for us to have an efficient system? Trust, of course, you mentioned is very important. People being able to trust you with their money. Yes. What are the pillars that you're banking?
In terms of trust, one of the biggest issues in terms of building trust is having a strong regulation. To making sure that the funds which are saved and invested are actually protected, and that the people who are saving actually get their benefits, they get their monies back, plus interest on this money or a return on this money, and to stop the leakages in the system. Okay, so that's part of the trust thing. But secondly, the way these funds are going to be, the way the schemes are going to be managed. They put the savers in the hands of their savings, creating irrevocable trusts. Some of the schemes, especially the voluntary schemes, they already have trusts where they have a board of trustees, where they have board of trustees who are elected by the members of the schemes, the people they do trust. And these people make all the decisions in terms of fund management, in terms of who they should be an administrator, in terms of who should be providing all these services. So one of the other elements is really this irrevocable trust that we are talking about. The other element of trust is transparency, building transparency and ensuring that savers actually know where their savings all the time. So the reporting, the information flow to the savers, that's going to be very critical. Is also the way the funds themselves are going to be governed between the boards of trustees, the fund managers, the custodians, the administrators. So when you look at the governance structure that is, there's, are going to run away with monies and so on. First of all, the UBRA Act, the act which is in place right now, has restrictions, on the areas where funds can be invested, or where areas where they cannot invest these monies. The law prohibits investment in speculative areas like gambling and so on. but also restricts beyond East Africa for now. Although there is
the money has to be invested within the East African
within the East African. Although there is a small debate on some of the investment vehicles which are not yet available.
Moses, do we actually have the capacity to be able to enforce this regulation? One of the biggest challenges we have in this country, in particular, good laws in place, but enforcement of those laws has proven to be a big challenge for the last very many decades. How do we know that we'll be able to enforce these regulations?
Yes, I think the way the financial sector, because the area we are dealing with is part of the non-bank financial sector, the way the financial sector is regulated worldwide, it has to be an independent regulatory framework. Like you see the Bank of Uganda regulating the banking system. So the most important thing is really to ensure that there is stronger regulation, that the law is actually implemented, and there is transparency and accountability. Accountability not only for the UBRA staff to the stakeholders, but accountability in the whole system, you know, fund managers, all the service providers, custodians, administrators, trustees, and so on, being accountable to the people who are actually owning these funds, and these are the savers. Which brings us to the next big question then.
Privatization, liberalization. Which one is it going to be? Because from what I'm hearing you saying, if we are going private in any way and bringing in private fund managers, let's just put it this way, Moses. The world over, people have proven that they know how to be able to beat these systems. And they can do a very good job beating whatever regulations you put. Privatize a sector like this in any way, or liberalize it for that matter, it comes with its own dangers, doesn't it?
Okay, let me address two issues. One is the difference between, let me get some water. Thank you. Let me address these two issues. One is private. You've used both words almost interchangeably.
Yeah, because there's a bit of
they don't mean the same thing.
Exactly.
Privatization, as I mentioned before, and I've been explaining this concept. Privatization means a shift in ownership of assets, or either by selling them or by donating them from government to a private sector, a private person, a private firm. Assets or services, provision of services, being transferred from government to a private sector, okay, or a private person. And that's what they call privatization, or selling them to the private people. What we are doing is actually not privatization. What we are doing is liberalization. Liberalization means you leave people with their structures, how they want to run their business, and then allow more people to come in. In the case of the pension sector, what we are doing in terms of the private sector and also the others is to create more NSSFs. But the ownership of the assets within the NSSF is not going to change. You're going to still have the employees who are contributing, the owners of these funds. And then you have the sponsors, the companies and so on, or prestataries who are actually contributing towards savings of their employees. And then you have the government, because this is a forced saving. You have a government backing up this, but
the government becomes a guarantor.
A guarantor, as a guarantor of these schemes, but invisible, just like the NSSF. And once we create the NSSF, the equivalent of other NSSF, this is going to be the ownership structure of these schemes. In other words, government will be an invisible guarantor of the current NSSF, and also those which will be licensed by the regulator to receive mandatory contributions. All those will have the similar governance and ownership structure.
Which brings me to the next question then.
By doing that, you bring in competition. Competition brings in innovation. Innovation in terms of benefits, the savers, and the savers getting the best services.
That's what I was going to ask about. NSSF has been the biggest player right now. Where does this leave NSSF? Does it get disbanded? Do they hand over the money they have to the government that then goes to other people? Where does NSSF fit into the whole big picture here?
Yes, as I mentioned, the governance, the ownership structure of the NSSF, or the governance structure of the NSSF, will remain as is, okay? Except that they'll have to have boards of trustees, in fact, the current board members have been licensed to be the first board of trustees for the NSSF, because the NSSF has already been licensed. But NSSF will be playing by that. The NSSF has been around for a long time.
They've had a very long head start.
It is well established.
1980.
It has the experience. And it's, it is represented almost in the whole country. And it has investments. All the investments are going to be going to be guaranteed. They're going to be protected. All the funds within the NSSF, by the time the liberalization bill becomes law, are going to be preserved in the NSSF. And we are proposing that will continue going to the NSSF for the next 5 years. Also, the other funds are
a third of the 15% that is contributed by both the employer and the
I talked about funds being preserved also for the next 5 years. Okay, so that is, that doesn't sound like we are disbanding the NSSF. In fact, as of now, we've already licensed it, and it's had its first annual meeting. It's giving out bank accounts. It's undertaking internal reforms in order to be competitive, because they know what's coming. They were part of our task force and have been part of the reform process, so they know what's coming, and they're working ahead of time in order to be competitive ahead of everyone.
You talked about things that you're proposing. I think it's very important for us to note at this point that this is a bill that is still before Parliament. It hasn't been passed into law yet. You might want to take some time right now and shed some more light on what is contained in this bill. What are some of the components, the main components of the bill that need to be taken note of by the people that are watching tonight?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest of the bills is to allow for expansion of the pension, of the social protection to the informal sector, increasing coverage. A policy and legal framework for the management funds. The UBRA Act provided the regulatory framework. Everyone came in, and that's why you had all these problems, not only in the NSS, but also public service pension scheme, but also those schemes which receive voluntary contributions. They all have governance issues, and that was mainly because there was no regulation, and that is in place now and is being strengthened. The bill also provides for portability within the country between schemes, but also within the East African region. But also provides for investment classes to promote diversification. The bill is very, very protective of the NSSF. It also makes a differentiation between mandatory contributions versus those receiving voluntary contributions in terms of the way the funds are going to be handled and the governance structure. There's some bit of differentiation, and this differentiation is mainly to preserve the voluntary nature of those voluntary schemes, those voluntary schemes, and also the small schemes.
You mentioned something about mandatory and voluntary schemes in terms of you've got people who have no choice but
voluntary or non-voluntary,
and we'll get to that because it's a big component in a bit. But before we go into a break, I wanted to ask something else in regards to NSSF. You just said that we have licensed NSSF.
The authority licensed.
Do we know how many other players have applied so far right now? Do we have any figures in terms of how many people have been given licenses, for example? Yes. Where are we in regards to the numbers of the players that we expect to have in the market when this finally comes into play?
Okay. We have more than 200 applicants in all categories of the sector. That means retirement benefit schemes, trustees, fund managers, custodians, administrators.
Definitions of each of those, because it seems like a lot of
people
and their roles and what they do. I think that might be watching the show and doesn't understand that.
Yes. The trustees who actually from whom the trustees who form the governance structure of these schemes have the fiduciary responsibility. They are responsible for the protection and for the investment and whatever happens to these schemes, to the funds under these schemes, and those are the trustees. I think for mandatory schemes, we are saying at least 3. But for those schemes receiving mandatory contributions, we are talking about at least 5 of them. And then you have the fund managers. The fund managers are the ones who will be who will be specialized. Fund management is a very specialized business. People think they can do fund management, but fund management is very, very specialized. And these are mainly private people, private companies. But they are not the ones who are going to be making a decision for investment. And they are not going to be holding any cash in terms of the cash or the assets for the schemes are going to be kept by the custodian. The custodian, right now we have 4 custodial banks or 4 banks undertaking custodial services. And this is the Housing Finance Bank. You have Kenya KCB, Kenya Commercial Bank, and then we have Standard Chartered Bank. I think, Standard Chartered Bank. So we have 4 banks.
So that's the custodians.
Those are the ones who are going to provide for now to receive to offer custodial services. And these ones have also been actually or given an obligation. They have their licenses as well by the Bank of Uganda to do these kind of things. So what will happen is that when you make a contribution company that is employing you, let's say NTV here, you know, they'll make the NTV will make a contribution, you know, on your behalf, and that will go directly into the custodial banks, and these 4 banks. And then the administrator, the one I'm talking about, will do the reconciliation. Will know, okay, NTV, for instance, transferred 100 million. Who are the owners of these funds? And that's the work of the administrator. I wouldn't mind 100 million being contributed for me. That would be nice. Yes, yeah, to keep records, to reconcile, to make statements and issue these statements and so forth. When it comes to fund management, what will happen is that the decision to make investment or to invest these funds is going to be made by the boards of trustees, and then the boards of trustees will give instruction. We'll get kind of like advisory services, or they'll get proposals from the fund managers they will have employed to say, well, I think it is better to employ this there. The risks are as follows, the benefits are the following. And once the decision is made by the boards of trustees, then instructions are given to the custodian to actually transfer the funds into that investment. And when an investment is made, the assets, let's say land titles or certificate of deposit or any other investment certificate will be kept by the custodian, not by the fund manager. Okay? So the fund manager will not actually hold any cash. So if the fund manager is to run away, not with savers' money. And that's how it's going to happen. Okay. And the administrator will do the recording, the reconstruction, they will give you the information, the bank statements, and so on.
We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, Mr. Moses Bekabi answers some of your questions. Of course, we'll give you a chance to get involved. You can join us on social media at NTV Uganda is our Twitter handle, and NTV Uganda on Facebook as well. Phone line will be on your screen, so you can call us if you have any questions for him as well, as he talks to you a little bit more about investment. We'll talk about risks involved when this pension reform bill becomes a law, and of course the issue of voluntary saving versus mandatory saving. What are the benefits of each, and how will that work? That and much more when we put Moses Bekabi back on the spot in just a minute.
MTN, everywhere you go.
sport tonight, Moses Bekabye, interim CEO at the Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, and is answering your questions regarding the ongoing pension reforms in Uganda right now. Of course, something that in a very lines will be open. You can call us on the numbers on your screen and be a part of the discussion as you ask him any questions that you might have regarding, well, your money. Speaking of mandatory savings versus voluntary savings.
Yes.
What's the difference? How will the play? Will everyone be forced to put money? The people, especially in the informal sector, who are coming and having at the moment. How is that going to work?
Yeah, let me start with the mandatory. You have people who are you have systems. Let's say talk about the public service pension scheme. All the people who are employed in the civil service, after working for some time, they qualify to get pension, their pension. Or they start saving. Their pension start accruing.
From the moment?
Yeah, from the moment they start employing.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a vesting period. Maybe can be 5 years or whatever, below which you may not get anything. But once you cross that, then you get something. In the case of the private sector, those contributing to the NSSF, as you know, is companies employing 5 and above who contribute to the NSSF. And then
and that's mandatory.
And that's for the mandatory contributions. Okay? And then you have those companies employing 4 and below, really not contributing anything towards the employees, and also the employees not making any savings towards their retirement. Okay? So what we are trying to do in the case of mandatory contribution, in terms of those people who are in the formal sector, all those people in the formal sector are going to be making mandatory contributions. And that's going to be by act of parliament.
That's regardless of how many employees you have?
Yeah, regardless of how many employees. Even if a company is employing 1 person, the employee will have to make a deduction towards mandatory contribution, will make a contribution, about 10% of the salary of the employee. So that is going to be the case. So it's going to expand it to that. When it comes to voluntary, you're looking at those people who may not have an income, or who may not be employed by anyone, who are self-employed.
Which is the bulk of the people.
Who are the bulk of the people.
Agriculture is the biggest employer in many ways in terms of the informal sector.
Yes.
So.
In terms of the bill that is in Parliament, those people, the proposal is that they make voluntary contributions. Of course, there has been a discussion on whether this should not be making
ask that, isn't it for their own good for it to be mandatory for them to make contributions as well? I mean, it's for their own benefit.
I think as people appreciate the need to save for the retirement, for the time when they're not able to work, for the time when they will not have enough energy to be employed, or for the time when they lose employment, because you can be in employment, you can be out of employment, and you can get back into employment, like that. But during that time when you're out, you need to have a social protection, a social safety net, at least a minimum social safety net, so that you don't, be faced with, which are not favorable. So what we are trying to do, probably over the longer term, once people start appreciating the need to save, this is something that we may start discussing. So that people who are also not really receiving any an income or not employed are trying to make a money. But that's not the proposal right now.
I have a question about that. Before we do that, we'll just go over to our phone lines and take a couple of phone calls. Just give us your name when you do call us. Tell us where you're calling from and keep your comment or question to under 30 seconds so we can take as many calls as we can. Hello, thank you for watching On The Spot. Welcome to NTV. I think we lost that caller. We'll go on to our other line. Thank you for calling NTV. Welcome to On The Spot. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from. I think we lost that. We'll get back to our phone lines in just a little bit. Okay. You were talking about the savings not being mandatory. Let's face it, Moses. Ugandans have a very bad culture of saving.
That's true.
We're really horrible at saving.
That's correct.
And as a disservice by leaving it up to us. Take your time. Shouldn't we be forcing people to do this now instead of waiting for later. Before you start, I think our phone lines have been fixed now. Let's go back to. Thank you for watching NTV. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Yes, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, this is Joseph. I'm calling from Tororo.
Yes, Joseph.
Now, my question is also the people under government going to be monitored?
Okay, I think we lost Joseph. If I'm not mistaken, he was asking about people who are public servants being monitored by Ubra. We'll take another phone call. Thank you for watching NTV. Welcome to On the Spot. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for watching NTV. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
This is Namoyo in Soroti.
How is Soroti this evening?
Soroti is fine.
It's good to hear from you. What's your question?
I wanted to know whether the civil servants in the public service will also join. Also, if it will be compulsory for them to contribute to the scheme. And if that is so, will we be retired first and then people recruited on contract terms so that they can be part of the scheme?
Okay, thank you very much. We'll take another 2 phone calls before we hand the questions back to... Hello, welcome to On the Spot. Thank you for watching NTV.
Hello.
Good evening.
My name is Patrick.
Yes, Patrick.
I'm calling from Mbale.
How is Mbale?
It's okay. I'm trying to get to the On the Spot.
Yes, you are on the spot, Patrick.
Yes, I wanted to find out, I'm not there, I'm not through form, but I wish to know how they're going to help people that are still that, you know, sometimes you lose a job for 4 years, you don't have anything you're doing, and yet you have a little million saved and you can't access it. I don't know how the reforms are going to help people in that kind of situation who have a lot of money, and because one of these reasons they're not able to pay for their children, school fees, and then there's money kept somewhere. And I wish to know if you take care of such situations.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. We'll take one more before we go back to Moses. Some very interesting questions you're asking. Hello, thank you for joining us on the spot. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Dennis, good evening and welcome to On the Spot.
Yes, please, I'm inquiring about the NSSF contributions. How does one begin assessing that fund? And was requesting, can the NSSF institute a system where somebody can access that fund, say for instance via ATM, and such that say or after one has retired from his active service?
Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. We'll hand these questions back to Moses and then maybe get back to the phone lines a little bit. Dennis is asking about NSSF and how it fits in. As you can imagine, of course, a lot of the questions having a lot to do with people, well, wanting their money. But I'll start with Patrick's question because I think that's a very interesting one. And Patrick was asking, I've been employed for quite a while. I have accumulated maybe about 60 million shillings in my NSSF account. It's lying there. I'm not been employed for the last 3 years. I've got a bank loan. I've got kids to take to school. I haven't reached the retirement age yet, so I can't be able to access my money through NSSF. What do I do? There's got to be something that's doing that sort of scenario. Does the reform and the bill cater for people that are in that category?
Thank you very much. First of all, right now, what you have, people accessing their benefits, particularly those they have to reach the age of 55 to be eligible for their full provident fund, because it's not a pension. It doesn't guarantee a social protection over longer term when you've retired or when you have problems. It's something that is paid once, and if you blow it up, then you're in trouble the next day. So it's not a pension. It doesn't provide you, it doesn't give you that guarantee of a standard of living that you would want to see when you retire after you've been contributing. So So what I wanted to say is that, but also there is, for instance, your job currently, and you are 50 years old, you actually get early access. But in terms of the reform, we have early access if you've been contributing for 10 years, and you want to you want to access your savings. You have enough savings, like he says, 60 million. Probably you want to access part of that in order to acquire a residential house. So the law allows midterm access for the purpose of acquiring a residential house. And the reason why it's a residential house is because a house, a shelter, is a key element of social protection. And I explained this last time. But they also, the law is going to be allowing other options, you know, like for and so on. Those are going to be some of the options the saver can actually benefit. And those arrangements are going to be worked out by individual schemes, because they are going to be optional saving arrangements under these schemes. And therefore they can be able, if they have problems, for instance, health, you know, and you want some money, and you've been contributing towards this option, you'll be able to get those help using those avenues. So the schemes are going to, the reform is going to bring about quite a number of products which the schemes can tailor to the needs of the people.
Then the last question, of course, was about for the civil servants, if this is going to be compulsory for them as well. And I think there was a question vested in there about them being able to access their pension as well. Of course, right now we've been having a major problem with our pension service, especially for the public service, because it's an arrears virtually all the time. Yeah,
the public service is going to undergo quite significant changes. One is to improve governance, to make sure that people who are not currently getting their pensions, or those who are about to retire, get their pensions as they are due. And the way we are going to do this is to ensure that the authority has all the information on arrears and also on the current savers, so that when they save, for those who are in arrears, to make sure that those obligations are actually settled and they are paid. For those who are contributing eligible, they access their funds. What we are also going to try and do is to create a public service pension fund. In other words, to separate the current system now combines the Ministry of Public Service with the pension scheme. It's combined. And the governance there is very, very difficult. And there are a lot of issues which the reform is going to be addressing, to make sure that when the new system is in place, when people contribute to these schemes, like the NSSF, they know where their funds are invested, they know the return on this money, and then they can be able to actually access their savings, plus the interest, as I said, or return on investment, or through, say, pension or monthly payment, or other forms that the authority will authorize to be able to meet their retirement age needs. So it's going to be compulsory for the public servants to actually contribute to this fund. But they will also be given choice. If they think that this fund is not being managed properly, they'll have choice to actually save in other schemes. Because as I mentioned the choice, which is so important for force people to save their money in a system they don't trust or a scheme they don't trust. So we are providing choice, portability issues as well, in order to allow this to happen.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. I'm sure this is not the last time that we are seeing you, because there's still so many questions that are unanswered. We'll be looking forward to you coming back and putting some of those to bed in the near future. Moses Bekabie, thank you so much for being with us on The Sport tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And on behalf of the entire crew here at NTV, thank you for joining us. My name is Ben Mwine. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Do you seek to understand men better?
There's a very big difference between a woman and a man.
For me, equality does not mean a woman also becomes a man.
Things have changed.
Are men who are sometimes purported to be the firstborn relationship relegated to second place?
When men stopped being men.
For any relationship to advance, both each of the parties needs to maintain a certain level of individuality.
Why do men cheat?
Because they can get away with it.
If I'm not ready for whatever it is and I say I don't think it's the right time, why must it mean that I'm running around or that I want to run around?
I don't believe that partners are supposed to be equal.
You should not reveal information that is not going to help you.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
You take a walk through Kampala, especially Kampala Road, Ginger Road, you will not miss almost disco lights. Have you ever picked money off the streets, or would you pick money if you saw it? Are you the one who dropped this money here? Are you? No. Are you? But by the mere fact that it is in my compound, it is in my proximity. Have you heard of the word convictor?
Me being a thief does not deprive me of having my right.
But right,
don't stop
what right do you have as a thief? No, say
as
one.
a human being, period.
Yeah, they say, we have also had.
Abana bebazaala kate mu myaka 10 maaso bajja kufuna olw'ekiwunye ekyo leero tekiwunye.
Yo, Steluga squad. Yeah, forwards and Savio. One Mac Cypher, 2013. Napuch Tibwe Charlie. Napuch Tibwe Charlie. Luga squad. Napuch Tibwe Charlie. Yeah, Napuch Tibwe Charlie. Yo. Mwendi, wechibina kambye mwendi. Kala sobe bibina jeza. Batunuza chamulize nawe, munywani. Ngamba fefembi ati wetukwate meso chimanyi tujugumyasi wagulu ne wansi frosi bakubanga byasi batatukiride tubaleka bafuka medde wansi abamukuba MC tunze majani batabulira kachaye bwentyo nemba wutalali bachali byatuchali ngibitala ndababubini mabolu kali mujulidi na mwebiri January wa February wa mchenda mwebiri kumyezi 12 nasasa mazensi bwenda yakulira muri fasi tekwebuza nzani kapiteni jatari forwards aka kanwa musaye bamaje bajaza nibalirashi bakuba kukuba tukuba bibombo goma tukulumya binono kojolo zeko kampene banno keketa nyukuta kubabo nyengalamata kutulabi kutuke pita kutukanze point yombambi tatu magalalanga nkubuzo kakanulira kusibika nze Uja, tebankubira kutijja sikotokera balijja obwekutwa singo tukizingira mu kifulukwa miringuza jangola be tambula jango yige togamba sakugamba ngodutandise no kwejjusa kuluji muyuji kanaza n'abagenzi abavuga olumu batwaliwo nababivako birungi birekwa olaba nembwe yava ku nseko muzibe talonda ku kkubo ne fata tali kubampeta ntabadde kumalako ttaka nnonya nsi weekoma beya kugwa ku ndumbwe sirabanga nfaanana ndambudde amawanga ntuuse ne Bulaaya kyetufaananya bamalaya mpozi n'embwa yeekatwe mpozi n'embwa yeekatwe yo mpozi n'embwa yeekatamu bitabo bayibuli sako luka squad tusuze Sinai ayenai bakula bakule mejate kalate dogoza kambaleke mitefite mutenzite nchankananye obuyaye bubecherenga netefujade bwakude nino sije mutabani kuno mutawana tolabala mama na bana tolobano ngenda kwana matinina okana ntenika toninana byokuswala ntinandaba chawaganya mama na bana minisikati zisikati zizazamize mumbale kubitalaze nembu amaze milimuje ojo abakwese budde wesibabuyise wabula kulagatale bula musiti kujambala ku mutwe ongabilenga bidatokulya ontabila sabila gokunywa oye yamalirira okuvetanidda otusibiretira obakulidde ku muna chapati na bijanjalo bakabaya woto tuchawo malaka sera ngagemuga ku mubiri mye netegereza mu munje serugando ndabo obukagwe ndowoza yange n'obufananyi bwange ogatta red pepper black mamba sakoneka munye nalayira obutaba wanu hijuwanda nga sekocho golaba buli kiseera nsimulula ebipya era nalayira obutawemula gwanga nga dola kuba nagulira maka asabyo sakulira mu nyumba nakuzibwa nina empisa era mwekyo nemanyi mu byemmanyi katima mu bantu kwento sikakwatako siwandawanda neweka bakakolondolwa mmira ebyokuwanda nabirekera banyarwanda n'abakazi bambuto banjigiriza obukyayita ku bantu bakulu mu kkubo ze n'abatomba tya nnyo kuba babeera bayoya nnyo buli katikitiki nayoya buli dakiika nayoya na buli ssawa nayoya nosasira okubuto kw'okugenda mbuli kazambi beebo bwosanga n'obubuto nga bwamera entumbi ogamba alina abalongo so nga njoka zandiba n'enjoka zokka babeera n'enfaana babeera n'ebigalanga mubeeramu kabootongo bw'embirojja n'amalanca tebankubira kutijja sitijjisa wakajanja sirya mabanja manja kyaggwe gyonansanga sabyo 13, go forward.
Catch One Mic Show Season 2 before the city began on NTV and in HD.
Had to flip it and go corporate. Catch attention of the ones I won't mention that tried to forfeit this whole rap thing. Calling it just rhyming. By the end of this, I know all of you gonna be overstanding that. It's something you can't acquire in high school or college. I'm talking about pure wisdom and deep knowledge. Don't be calling it just whack. Understand hip-hop is deeper than rap as usual. Kick started with a little bit of rhyme just to let you know, reassure you it's about that time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, So Severe, welcoming you back to another episode of that One Mic Show. Please, I urge you, do not change your channel. It is still the One Mic Show. I am still your host, So Severe. I just cleaned up nice. Can't wait to see what you say about that on Facebook, on Twitter. Read about it in Exile Africa magazine, or on YouTube. You know where to find us, all the places as usual. Yes, indeed. Brand new episode. I'm taking you on this journey with me. You're still with me? Yes, I am still the same. Yeah, man, I clean up nice. I look good in a suit. Let's admit it, right? Yeah, I'll kill this thing. Okay, this episode's about wisdom, the final element of hip-hop. Wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, which is basically going to explain a little later why I'm right here on the Parliament, at the Parliament, commissioning of the new parking lot here at the Parliament. But right before we get into that, just stick around, check a look at what we have for you this evening.
Well, I'm looking for the right tap so you can be my limelight. If love is blind, you know I can make it see right now.
Because we were slaves and got free through knowledge. Now today they say we free and we're more slaves because of lack of knowledge. It's knowledge that reigns supreme.
Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define how I be dropping these. Robbery, flee with the lottery, possibly they spotted me. Suddenly you're like, man.
Bottle of Sprite. Hear this. Never lose sight of who you are. A lemon lime beverage that makes the thirsty people less thirsty. You're a thirst quencher, and so are you. And you, no matter where you end up. Dip-pop, 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 pop. Good job, bottle of Sprite. Good job.
We're still within here at the Parliament in Kampala. And now let's jump straight into it. Now, wisdom is wealth, as we all know, and have been told since childhood. Knowledge is power growing up. We all know this, we see this in our day-to-day lives, but if you look at past, present, and in all through our history, the most famous men, the most remembered men were not the wealthiest as such, but the most knowledgeable, the most wise, from Einstein to King Solomon to Marco Polo to Severe to Martin Luther King. All these men are remembered for what they said, what they knew, and how much they did to inspire people and move people by the pocket. Now in rap, if we can use that example and reflect it into what rap is in hip-hop, in hip-hop, probably the most important element is the element of overstanding, which in lay terms could be wisdom and knowledge. Because all the way from the root words of hip-hop, like look at the meanings, hip and hop, know what is present and what is current, to know what knowledgeable about things happening in the present tense, and to hop is a movement.
First of all, hip-hop is not just a culture, it's a new civilization. Okay. Hip-hop is one of the oldest cultures on earth. It is the first thing that human beings do when they come into existence.
So to be with us in this collective conscious movement, it's collectively conscious. You have to be wise about what you're doing, because you can't save the world. Century philosopher. We have Nostradamus, or the MC called Nas, calling himself Nostradamus after the fortune teller from way back in the past. It's all because they're trying to embody the movement of hip-hop, but then the element of knowledge and wisdom and overstanding.
Being intelligence, all of the mercy, all that, it's godlike. What would you rather be, black or God? Who are you really, African American or human? I tend to lean toward human myself. And so hip hop as a movement is colored with this as well. Not all of hip hop agrees with KRS-One, and they shouldn't. Hip hop should be challenging everything that anybody is saying out there about. Truth will hold up.
As you can see in this next clip from KRS-One, as he better explains and puts it to you in the best terms possible, from KRS-One, the teacher.
I don't know how to introduce myself, really. My name is KRS-One. Knowledge reigns supreme over nearly everyone. But this is all online already. Who doesn't know, please? If you don't know all of that,
catch One Mic before the city began on NTV and HD.
So you got these professors all over the world claiming themselves to be hip-hop professors or hip-hop scholars. Never did a show, never made a record, never even supported the making of one. Okay, you don't rap, but you produced an album, okay? You paid for one, you made a beat, nothing, zero. They listen to rap music and then go, okay, now I can teach hip hop in a college. This is horrible for hip hop. I urge all hip hoppers to rise up on this. Anybody teaching you hip hop, if they don't have a degree from me, they're not hip hop.
Come and celebrate our 15th anniversary with us. Don't miss out on your share of the 10 billion shillings worth of airtime that's up for grabs. Enjoy free airtime every time you load. Guaranteed bonus. Dial *188# once to activate. Thank you. Webale nnyo. Webale mnonga. Afoyo mateka.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
You heard it yourselves right. The KRS-One, the teacher, the God, rap pioneer right there. Explaining to you the element of overstanding, but where it comes from. If you look at the word overstanding, the word play, because knowledge is basically understanding, but communicating, which is what hip-hoppers try to do, to communicate, and communicate will not be done and is not complete without the message being understood.
To express themselves creatively in a way that would make people listen. Hip-hop is, it's a way to creatively get people to listen to your struggle and listen to what you're trying to get across, you know? Like when people wouldn't listen to you otherwise. Like if street preachers could hip-hop it a little bit, like for real, like 9 cats from Shaolin in Staten Island, no one wants to hear what they have to say. Put that to a beat, and a guy says abomatomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define how I be dropping these mockeries, lyrically perform armed robbery, flee with the lottery, possibly they spotted me. Suddenly you're like, man, that's sick, it's melodic, there's something really cool about it. You don't like, those guys were telling stories, you know?
But the history of the concept of overstanding comes from Jamaica. As we all know, music with hip-hop, and some argue that that is where it originated from, but overstanding, the wordplay. Jamaicans believe that before you get the concept of a message that I'm trying to tell you, you stand under the message because you don't understand it. But then once you've received it and fully gotten the idea behind the message that's trying to be relayed to you, you stand over the idea because you now have a better stand view of what you didn't know before.
Sprite! Rules and regulations mean you can't be taken through security. But we'll go all the way home. Well played. Good job, Bottle of Sprite. Good job.
So the Jamaicans just then called it overstanding because they believe understanding is when you don't know it, overstanding is when you know it. So now you understand, or should I say you overstand the origin of overstanding as a concept and an element of hip-hop. And now hip-hop has just translated that knowledge into hip-hop today as a movement, collective conscious movement. So I am still your host, So Severe. Stick around, I'm gonna keep it real and show you some more about the parliament, where we have a lot of philosophers overstanding. Check me out.
And demand more knowledge, not more money. Demand more knowledge, not more freedom even. Because we were slaves and got free through knowledge. Now today they say we free and we're more slaves because of lack of knowledge. It's knowledge that reigns supreme. Yes. What a coincidence.
Stepped in the Sheraton, in Tucson. Asked them about me, Babuzi. Buck that guy, that dude, black shot, black suit, black shoes, bummy you tiny, Rionga. Need a big kill, Tewalian song, might blow like nitro. Bright as a light show, this is the one mic show. Hey, you make me, you better catch season 2. It ain't free, boy.
Come and celebrate our 15th anniversary with us. Don't miss out on your share of the 10 billion shillings worth of airtime that's up for grabs. Enjoy free airtime every time you load. Guaranteed bonus. Dial *188# once to activate. Thank you. Webale nnyo. Webale mnonga. Afoyo matek. Asante sana.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
Everybody over there! Singing education! Everybody over here!
We all need respect!
All the people of the world!
Hoping for peace!
Everybody think! Peace! Unity! Love! And having fun! Peace! Unity! Love! And having fun! Peace! Unity! Love! And having fun! Peace! Unity! Love! And having
demonstrations. Hunger, poverty, killing, revenge. Is this the world we want to be in? Anti-God, anti-life, anti-religion, anti-what's right, anti-you and anti-me. Are we really facing reality?
Chug, bottle of Sprite. If you weren't here, there would only be sadness. Lemon and lime, lemon, lime. Good job. You're in him. Good job, bottle of Sprite. Good job.
The overstanding concept of hip-hop, because like KRS-One took you to the meaning of hip-hop, you don't stop, don't drop. Yes indeed, I'm keeping it real, keeping it true, keeping it hip-hop, and I hope you are wiser now and you are part of this movement that I call hip-hop, that I'm a part of, and I'm sure you'll love to be a part of. You don't have to rap to know hip-hop, to be hip-hop. Like I said, eat, live, breathe hip-hop. It's a culture. Be a part of us, talk like us, dress like us, we look fly. I mean, look at me. Tonight I'm killing this suit today. I mean, fresh indeed. Can't wait to hear what you say about it on Facebook. You know, facebook.com/OneMicShowUG. You know, Twitter @OneMicShowUG. You know, just #OMSUG. YouTube.com/OneMicShowUG. X-Out Africa Magazine. Can't wait to read what you say. Can't wait to read what you say about this. About how I look today, you know? Keeping it true, keeping it real, keeping it hip-hop, keeping it street. Your boy One Mic Show. One Mic So severe. One Mic Show, man. I'm still bugging out over the whole parliament thing today. I mean, I'm tripping, but for real. See you next time next week. Without further, don't doubt it, we keep it true, keep it real.
Sprite on ice. You've made it into the infamous TV beauty shot by doing what you're being. Nice. Roll credits.
Let's go. Alright, now this is type of music I put my heart into. You can test me or you can try me on the mental. Clearly going up and bring you down like gravity. Cause none of your birds, if you were so new to me. I've had a lot of verses, but verses are so mystical. Don't ask me why, cause later wrong you will know. Me and Mad freestyling get psyched up. We made a couple lines, you niggas still doing lullabies. Y'all niggas no more P, yes. The club and your girlfriend had to choose me. She left you all alone, you look lonely like a little kid. I sound like a plague, come close, I'm so enticing. Never been off and on like electricity. If you think I'm flattery, you can ask your next colleague. Y'all hear me clearly, call me Mr. Articulate. Even the DJ spinning the beat is really feeling this. Yeah, one mic show, yeah, I'm so severe. You know I'm clean, I'm so fair. Yeah, you know what's up, huh? Let's get it.
Catch One Mic Show Season 2 before the city began on NTV and HD. Program Guide.
Must Watch is brought to you by
Welcome to the new world.
Meet Byron and Tiffany. He's not ready to settle down.
You know how many women want you right now?
She wants a commitment.
Tiffany, I have a plan.
And needs Shantae's help to make it happen.
Before you can conquer the beast, you must first understand the nature of the beast.
Welcome to the new world. Welcome to the new world.
For Detto, it has always been our mission to keep families healthy. To show how families can fight the germs that cause illnesses like stomach upset, colds, and flu, we started a 2-year study among 6,000 people. In the first year, families maintained their normal routine. In the second year, they started using Detto products every day and adopted good hygiene practices. Using Detto to wash their hands regularly and keep surfaces clean and disinfected was shown to be the best way to keep their families healthy. There was a staggering decrease of up to 75% of illness in this group. You too can make a difference by making Detto and good hygiene habits part of your everyday life. Together, let's make Uganda healthier. Detto, be 99.9% sure.
House Call is brought to you by
Mr. Action! Mr. Action has proven he is the best. Knock out headaches with action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Hello, my name is Hassan Waswa, captain of the Uganda Cranes. We Ugandans love our sports. You can see it in the way we support the Uganda Cranes and the way we treat our opponents with dignity. It's the spirit of commitment and loyalty that makes me feel right at home when I'm flying with Air Uganda. It's my country, it's my airline.
Air Uganda, the wings of East Africa.
NTV, turning on your world.
religious interpretation of the eclipse. A self-proclaimed prophet says the eclipse is a warning to President Museveni.
The health of the 23-year-old woman who was gang raped is steadily improving. But even as this is so, her keepers say that total recovery will only be attained if all the culprits are brought to book. I am Gertrude Tumusime Uitkware to bring you the details of this story.
Nail biting is an impulse control disorder that is quite common in people. But how many of you are aware that that habit can be dropped? I am Irene Namialo to bring you more of that story.
KCCA men volleyball team fight back into the third game of the National Volleyball Playoffs. Join me, Sam Poza, for the details of this story.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
Now, a self-styled prophet in Kampala says the total solar eclipse that is expected to happen tomorrow is a warning to President Museveni to repent for his alleged misdeeds or else face disaster. The man, Charles Opio, who says he is a prophet to the nation of Uganda, says people should focus more on the biblical interpretation of the eclipse rather than the scientific one. Suhail Mugabe reports.
Superstitious views have emerged about the total solar eclipse that thousands of people are eagerly waiting to see at Owini Primary School in Pakwach town. One such view comes from the self-proclaimed prophet Charles Opio.
With regard to the Ugandan eclipse this time round, the Lord has spoken to me and has said that this eclipse comes as a warning, not only to this nation, but in particular to the president. And the warning to the president is that God has given him 12 months in which to repent. Everybody's asking, repent of what? To God is not about money, it's not about material things, but it's about the spiritual state of this country.
However, physics experts dismiss such beliefs as mere superstition and have provided a scientific explanation of how the phenomenon occurs.
You get some strange winds, that's one. Two, if you were on a raised place, which is advisable, like on a hilly place, you'll see a shadow stretching from one side, chasing the light. Nocturnal animals, the cockroaches, some insects, the bats, will start wanting to go around and go and do the activities. So those are the strange things which people normally associate with superstition, but there is nothing to do with superstition concerning the eclipse.
Experts who studied the movement of the sun also gave the significance of the total or hybrid eclipse.
The last one happened on March 16, 1466. And that is about 547 years ago. The next one will happen after 101 years, on June 3rd, 2114, or 2114 years to come. So me and you will not be there in our lifetime to experience both annular and total eclipse. Although here in Uganda we shall not experience in the north, they will get the total, and here in Kampala they will get the partial eclipse.
Although people in Kampala will miss seeing the spectacular occurrence, there is hope that they too will enjoy the moment differently. The experts say there are other ways of viewing the eclipse.
So the telescope would also help you to cast an image on the white background, on the white cardboard, and you look at the sun. You can look at the profile of the sun nicely when you are using that projection.
It is estimated that at least 35,000 people have left for Pakwach town in Nebi district, a place that the American National Aeronautics and Space Agency NASA pointed out as the best viewing point of the hybrid eclipse. The Uganda Red Cross Society has also put arrangements in place in case of emergencies.
We have about 10 first aiders, and we are working with Nebi district authorities to ensure that we provide first aid and evacuation services to the teams that will be coming to view the solar eclipse.
People in countries like Gabon, Congo-Brazzaville, the DRC and Somalia will have an opportunity to witness the hybrid eclipse. Different views and experiences are also expected to occur at the different viewpoints. Suhail Mugabe, NTV Weekend Edition.
Now, tourists from all over the world have started streaming into the country to view the total solar eclipse that will be sighted tomorrow at Owinyi Primary School in Pakwach district. The eclipse has created a lot of publicity for the northern Uganda town that previously attracted very few visitors. Our reporter Sudhir Berhanga is standing by in Pakwach to give us the latest update. Over to you, Sudhir.
Thank you, Rukshana. We are live at Owinyi Primary School that is about 16 kilometers from Pakwachi town, a place that has been chosen to be having the best vantage point of viewing the hybrid solar eclipse expected to be ushered in on Sunday, that is tomorrow. And of course, the weather is changing. It's quite a little bit windy, very windy, gusts of wind trying to throw even our equipment down. And the rain, the skies are opening anytime from now. It's still drizzling. But I have a team of eclipse chasers. They have been doing this for the last 14 years. And these are the eclipse chasers, Austria. Could you tell me, why have you chosen to be in Uganda for this very event?
Actually, we choose it because of the weather conditions, and of course for the nice people, and we really like to see the Uganda.
Okay.
Uganda.
Could you tell me, why have you chosen Uganda as your best destination? Why?
Çünkü güneş burada tutuluyor.
Okay, fine. Okay, maybe he could be having a little bit problem with the English, but of course I wanted to know, AJ, tell me what is so special about this hybrid eclipse. For the last 14 years you've been doing this. Why is it so special, this one that Uganda is going to be having tomorrow?
Actually, it is the first time that we will see the hybrid solar eclipse. We catch so many total eclipses and annular eclipses, but this is also the first time, and it will in Uganda.
And then looking at the many countries that you've visited across the whole world, and you've been to Austria, the one that has had like the last eclipse. This time, what should we expect? The hybrid.
The hybrid, actually, let me show you something, if it's possible. Because this is the annular eclipse, and this is the total one. And now it will mixture of this. It is a one-time event, and in 20 years, I guess, Uganda will have one total eclipse, but not now. It will happen in 20 years. So it is so special.
Okay, it's so special. And then what's the purpose of doing all this, going all over the different countries, chasing the eclipse? What basically do you want to achieve out of this as people who are coming from Turkey?
We are making this for getting information, getting so many infos about the sky and the sun. And also we really like to share those with the people. Actually the spirit is the sharing. Because this is not our job, but this is our hobby, and we are all love astronomy.
And then in terms, apart from sharing information with the rest of the world, with what you might research and try to put down, how often is it something that people really like so much in the other part of the world? Or because most Africans, many might not really know that this even exists. In the Western world, is it something marketable in case we are to expect any other kind of eclipse within the country?
Yeah, actually the eclipse is always, affects the countries itself. Even you have a monument now from now on, after tomorrow. It is a cultural thing that always the countries has stories and beliefs about this, and this is a very good research point for us also. And we use this with sharing with university. They are using their lessons, and we also sharing our astronomy society. So they also use these views and these shots, this documentary also.
And then what kind of equipment do you think you will be using in order to capture this for so many years and for history in future? What kind of equipment?
We have a sponsor from 2006, the Canon, our sponsor. So they are very, very professional cameras. Even we have 600 millimeter lenses, and it's a very huge. It's we are using with this with the special filters to shut the sun, and we also use 9 different cameras.
And then how about Ugandans? Will they be able to at one time also share with you?
Sorry?
Ugandans, how can they access this information?
We always put this with our website. They can follow us on our website. It's eclipsehunters.com. So they can download it, or even if they ask us, then we can give it. We even make a presentation for school. So
thank you. Before we can go off, we have one man from security, that is the DPC in the area. Could you tell us what should we expect tomorrow briefly in 10 seconds because of time?
We are guaranteeing security for all people coming to view the eclipse here at Owinyi Primary School. Security is working tooth and nail to ensure that the event goes without anyone being hurt. All we urge from the members of the public is popular vigilance and extreme alertness. Thank you.
Those are the words of the DPC, that is Onesimus Mwesgwa, within the region of Pakwach, ensuring that people will stay safe tomorrow. And of course, thank you everyone who has been part of this. We are expecting to be giving you a live broadcast of the total the eclipse tomorrow. And of course, we don't know how the weather will be, but we are hoping maybe the skies won't open during the very time. Back to you to Rukshana in Serena, Kampala.
Thank you very much, Sudhir. Now, obviously, it is raining in Pakwach, but hopefully tomorrow the sky will be clearer. Now, earlier on, we brought you a report of a self-styled prophet who says he is a prophet of the nation of Uganda and people should focus more on the biblical interpretation of the eclipse rather than the scientific one. And it is on this very issue that we would like to engage you in the poll tonight as we ask, is the solar eclipse a scientific phenomenon or a spiritual occurrence? To have your say, text 8778 followed by your name and location, and we shall be reading some of your comments during tonight's newscast. Uganda has summoned its ambassador in Kinshasa, Major James Chinobe, to return and brief the government after artillery shells fired from the Democratic Republic of Congo early this week landed in Kisoro district, injuring 6 people. This comes after the Kampala regime protested the incident and asked the DRC government for an explanation.
Today, artillery shells fired from the Democratic Republic of Congo landed in Kisoro district, injuring 6 people. Till now, the victims are still nursing injuries at Kisoro Hospital. The incident came at the time DRC forces, along with the UN Intervention Brigade, took siege of the border town of Bunagana after pushing out the M23 rebels. Early this week, Foreign Affairs Minister Sam Kutesa sent a protest message to the Kinshasa government. The Uganda government has now summoned its envoy to Kinshasa, Major James Chinobe, to give them a brief about the incident.
We particularly would want this place to remain peaceful. We don't want anything that can disrupt order here. We pray that the Great Lakes region management and what's happening helps to resolve their predicament there. But the least that we can expect here is disruption.
Musa Echol, the Disaster Preparedness State Minister, was in Bunagana today to assess the humanitarian situation. Echol ordered all refugees to move to the transit camp in Kisoro rather than staying at the border. According to Minister Echol, the continued stay of these people at this playground could be a source of insecurity to the area and to the entire country. And that, given it is a rainy season, anything can happen in terms of disease breakout.
We are the owners of the home and we are the ones saying, welcome to this bedroom, welcome to this room. You, the visitor, you can't say, I want to be in the other room. No, that's not good. It is difficult to know who is even a bad person among you. And you can find yourself in problems here.
He argued that though the transit camp is grappling with the challenges, the conditions are better than sleeping in the open.
Food will be there, the medicine will be there, a few blankets for the children will be there. General welfare of the children will be taken care there, better than here where you are now being looked after almost like animals.
Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
The 23-year-old woman who was reportedly gang raped by Pakistani nationals in Kampala 3 weeks ago is steadily improving at her health care center. The woman is, however, still grappling with post-traumatic stress disorder that her caretakers say she will only overcome once she gets justice. Gertrude Tumsimo Witkwari reports.
About 3 weeks ago, this 23-year-old woman who was gang raped by Asian men was brought to this Action Aid shelter after being discharged from Mulago Hospital. She expressed fears of returning home, claiming her life was under threat. She looked frail after getting discharged from Mulago and could barely move, sit or even lie without any support. She wore diapers as her muscles had become loose. This has long changed. The 23-year-old can even offer a smile now. When she was taken in at Action Aid, she started seeing a private doctor who, after diagnosis, took her and found her with ruptured private parts. She underwent an operation.
There were 3 major difficulties the doctor examined. One was the situation around her private parts. There was an examination of her anal system, and then there was also some examination of her psychological state. And despite some findings which are traumatizing, she's really able to recover.
I feel so much better than before. I can now control my excreta and the bleeding has stopped. I feel less pain than the one I felt when I had just come here.
She is still on medication and frequently visits the doctor. Currently, her biggest problem is psychological trauma. She says she frequently breaks down when she recalls the horrific act and even feels like committing suicide sometimes.
I would recover, but I have lots of thoughts, especially about the culprits. I know they will be sentenced to a few years in prison and they will be released, but my future and name are spoiled.
Now she has got herself this teddy bear, which she never lets go of.
Even when I cannot pray anymore, this is my baby. It brings me peace every time I hold it.
Officials at Action Aid say although this woman's physical health is getting better by the day, it might take her forever to get healed psychologically.
Psychologically, it's important that a sense of justice is also felt. Without that, her full recovery cannot be talked about.
Gertrude Tumusime with Kware, NTV.
Now, nail biting is a common habit that many people have lived with for ages, but health experts consider it an impulsive control disorder that deforms nails and causes one to get viral infections. But as Irene Namialo reports, the habit can actually be dropped.
This young man, who we will call Tom to protect his real identity, seems to have it all going for him. He is well educated with a good job that is the envy of many. But he has one habit that has greatly affected his self-esteem, and that is nail biting. This compulsive habit has really dented his confidence, so much so that he shies away from talking about it before the camera. His nails are quite unsightly, and his efforts of dropping the habit have so far failed.
I subconsciously find myself biting my nails when I do not know. Till someone reminds me, why are you biting my nails? I just remember and I stop. It's hard, I've tried, but...
His girlfriend and mother have also tried getting him off the habit to no avail.
My mom especially, she has gone to the extent of taking me to church to be prayed for, bringing pastors to pray for me at home. Right?
According to Dr. Dorothy Chiza, a clinical psychologist, the first step of stopping nail biting is accepting the problem and then finding health ways of managing stress, anxiety or boredom. Dr. Chiza says these are some of the factors that trigger nail biting.
A person is trying to deal with some kind of emotions, and normally it's like it's an equivalent to thumb sucking, and normally it dates way back into early childhood.
Keeping one's hands or mouth busy by playing a musical instrument or chewing gum can also help. One of the common treatments is to apply a clear bitter-tasting nail polish to the nails. But for severe cases, it's advised that one seeks counseling services.
A person needs to have to undergo cognitive behavioral therapy, whereby we are looking at restructuring our way of thinking to be able to deal with that problem. Okay, so if the person is not ready, it involves a number of sessions first and foremost. The list would be around 8 sessions on a weekly basis, so it can take about 3 months.
Nails are known to harbor germs, and health experts recommend addicted nail biters to regularly deworm. Irene Namialo, NTV.
In other news, Fugitive Army General David Sejusa's biological father has requested President Yoweri Museveni to pardon the general, like the president reprieved Chris Rakasisi, who had been sentenced to death. The fatherly request follows the death of Sejusa's brother Dan Mutunji, who is believed to have committed suicide by falling into a pond.
The deceased 57-year-old Dan Mutunji is said to have tried to hang himself in vain, took a poisonous substance and later ran and fell into a pond.
Nga ekyavudde mu kunywa eddagala lino oba yalabye nga limubiisizaawo kwe kukwata ekkubo n'akkirira ku ddaamu y'amazzi abatuuze gye bamusanze ng'atengeetera ku mazzi.
The incident took place at their home in Weyale village, Lugusulu sub-county in Sembabule district. Against the backdrop of the sorrowful occurrence, Sejusa's father has pleaded to the president to pardon the fugitive army general.
Njagala busonyiwe abuyita bwe kumiteekako kwakkolizo tubalijja attibwe basibwe bayisa baki abusonyiwe Rakasisi babusala omusango gw'okufa.
According to family members, the late Mutunji suffered from schizophrenia, a long-term mental disorder, and had earlier threatened to terminate his life.
Era ebiseera ebisinga byonna abadde butabika, agenda n'afuna treatment n'akomawo era mu wiiki eyewedde abadde yakadde okuva ebitabika okufuna eddagala.
The relatives allege the deceased became frustrated after his brother Sejusa stopped providing for the family after he went into exile.
Kubanga yabadde kitaawe era nyina kubanga buli kimu ekizibu kyonna kyonna kibadde kijja wonna wakaawe oba ekizize ku bulamu bwe ng'oli muganda we yalina omuyamba.
The late Dan Mutunji is a former civil servant and a member of Sembabule District Service Commission.
We'll now take a short break and return with these stories and so much more. Still to come, when is the right time to talk to your child about sex and sexuality in Let's Talk tonight? And KCCA men volley team win Game 2 of the national playoffs.
How deep is your love? If you really love and care for your children, get tested for HIV. Put your love to the test. Visit your nearest Good Life clinic or health facility for HIV counseling and testing. It's free, fast, safe and confidential. This message is brought to you by Ministry of Health and KCC with support from USAID. A good life starts with good health.
Have you tested for HIV yet? Now that Airtel and Worried have merged, can I use Airtel airtime cards on my 070 number or Worried airtime cards on my 075 number?
Yes, you may recharge your 070 or 075 number with either Airtel or Worried airtime cards. You are now part of a circle of 7.2 million friends. Enjoy the celebrations. Airtel.
You are watching NTV Weekend Edition.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now a reminder that in this evening's weekend poll, we asked, is the solar eclipse a scientific phenomenon or a spiritual occurrence? To have your say, text 8778 followed by your name and your location. We'll now sample some of your comments so far, starting with Francis Kojo, who says, it is a natural phenomenon. Walter Kalang says it is both and Uganda is so blessed. And Derek Aneo says, gone are the days when it was considered spiritual. Now do stay tuned as we shall be bringing you more of the comments at the tail end of tonight's newscast. Now, tonight, we are talking about having the birds and bees conversation with children. Young children are notorious for asking questions that make parents squirm, especially when it comes to sexuality. And sometimes the difficult questions can come much earlier than anticipated, and often at an inopportune time. I am joined by Miss Confidence Nkurununji, a teenage counselor, and Mrs. Lona Magara, an educationalist, but above all, a mother of 4. Welcome. Good evening and welcome to NTV Let's Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll start with the one question that personally bothers me. Why is the parent-child conversation about sex and sexuality a very difficult one to have? We will start with you.
Thank you. Thank you and good evening. I suppose it's difficult because the whole discussion about sex is a very private matter. It is something that is personal. And oftentimes you find that the things that are personal and private are very difficult to talk about unless you have established a good relationship with the person. So even with the children, unless you have already established an ongoing relationship, it's very hard to begin discussing sex and sexuality.
Okay, Lona? Sorry, not Lona, Confidence?
Okay, it's very difficult because just like Lona has just said, it just depends on the relationship you have with these children. Because if they do not trust you, if you have not made this relationship so from the beginning, they will not start telling you things like sex. It is something we regard as private. So how can I start talking to someone who is not close to me about something that is so close, so private like sex?
So how can we create the environment that makes these conversations a bit more comfortable?
Actually, we can create the environment by beginning from when these children are very young. When they ask you a question, it is very important to answer them and give them the right information. Don't run away and say, I'll answer tomorrow. Because with children, when they ask you, they want their answer now, not tomorrow. Give them the question, give them the answer, and give age-appropriate information. For a 3-year-old, you give the information that is equivalent to their age. For a 6-year-old and on and on. So you don't shy away. If you do not give them this information, someone else will. And normally the information given by a stranger can be anything. So it is very important. We are their friends as early as they are born. This relationship is nurtured from the beginning. They are breastfeeding, they are going on, they can trust you, they can talk to you. So sexuality will be as normal as other things.
Okay, Lorna, you have 4 children, right?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to share your experience with us? You have 3 boys and 1 girl.
Yes, I do.
Would you like to share your experience with us? In terms of creating that kind of environment that was it easy for you to have this conversation with your kids?
Okay, like you've just mentioned, excuse me, we have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, spanning the ages 16 to 22. And like you say, it's not a discussion that comes easy, but when you have established a relationship, and I want to go back to that, discussion of sex and sexuality is just one of the many things that you discuss with children.
Okay.
And so it should be a life experience. It's something that you do on a daily basis as you discuss schoolwork, as you discuss their friends, as they ask questions, then the discussion of sex would come in. And so even with our children, there wasn't ever a day we said, now there is
let's have this talk,
huge talk, and let's sit in a quiet place. No, it never happened like that. It was always out of, it came up out of a situation that they had experienced that we would then begin to talk about. I can cite one right now.
Please, go ahead.
When they were much younger, I used to take them for a sports activity, Kampala Kids League, they are sporty children, so they were involved in all these sports. So I'd take them there. And then on one of those days, we had this experience. As we walked onto the field of this particular school, there was a boy and girl kissing in the corner. And so I was shocked, and so were they. And so when we went to the field, I asked them, so why were you shocked? And so that started the conversation. And we started discussing, when do you start kissing? Why should you kiss? What does the kiss do?
Wow.
So you begin discussing, and so it's you use life experiences, you use their curiosity as learning moments, and that's how. But if you haven't had a relationship,
it becomes difficult to actually seize the opportunity.
Very. Everyone, you get an awkward silence, and then everyone disappears in the opposite direction.
Okay. Yeah. And what kind of things should you talk about, and at one point, and at what point? And before we get into your views, this is a question we engaged our viewers on earlier today, and this is what some of them had to say. Habiba Namiro suggests that as soon as the girl child gets her first period, she should be told about the likely consequences of having sexual relations. Phoebe Komuhanji says sex education should be gradual, especially at puberty. Parents should tell their children about the dangers of early sex and early marriage. Talk to them about decency and self-appreciation. That is according to David Matwa. Darius Noamani proposes, talk to them about their physical changes and how to deal with the feelings that arise. And Charles Elo says, children should be told what it means to be a boy or a girl and how they're to behave at a particular stage. These are just some of the comments that we could sample. But you notice that very many, and even on our Facebook page, most of the comments, many people seem to think that the time to start having this conversation is just before adolescence. That's what most people think. But from your perspective, what kinds of things should we talk about, and at what stage?
For me, I believe people should be told, even from the beginning, you are a boy, you are a girl. That is sex education. And then we gradually talk, because children will keep asking you questions. You do not wait for them to be adolescents. They will have made mistakes. You have to explain, you're a girl, therefore this is how your body is. We call them private, but for safety purposes, you have to know these are important parts of your body as a boy, as a girl. And we gradually continue. By the time at puberty, then they have understood who they are. Then they can deal with the changes that come, because the conversation is natural and normal. They do not fear talking, they do not fear, or they don't even feel bad. I'm a girl, therefore I'm disadvantaged. I'm a boy, I should have been this. So it should begin as early as they understand. You are a boy, this is how you behave, this is how you look like. So it is an ongoing conversation.
Okay, let's look at the language for a bit. What kind of language should be used when talking about their bodies? And this is a very, I think this is a very important question, because there are people who prefer to have all sorts of names. But is that the best method, or should you actually call these things what these things are?
Okay, it's a bit tricky, but it is very important. Like I've said, this is an important part of my body. I've called it private, but I've called it important. I'm giving it a nickname. You've nicknamed it, another person has given it another nickname, it can confuse.
So why not call it what it is?
Okay, calling it what it is very important. Whereas some languages, if you put it in English, somehow it is nice. But there are some languages which will make it look so, but you find a way of making it an important part of my body, call it that name, and let this name be fitting, so that they can respect it.
Alona, your thoughts on the language?
I would agree with her. Our local language is a very graphic. So you may want to tone it down, but not demean it, not make it something that's abusive, but give it the value that it's important, yes. I think the English language is kinder.
Perhaps I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Contraception.
Yes.
It's a bit of a sticky issue.
Yeah.
Should it be discussed with children as part of, the older children of course, as part of sex education? Do you think it should?
For the older adolescents?
Yes.
Or the young adults?
Yes,
but not the adolescents. not the 5-10-year-olds.
The teenagers?
Yeah.
Should you be having a conversation about contraceptives with the teenagers?
Okay, having that conversation is one way, as if you are encouraging them to go on, use them and have sex. So we are saying it is very important to deal with young adults. Maybe someone has studied, has finished, but again, being in the world where the TV is saying, what is your choice? What is your safe, they call it this choice of saying, what is your perfect choice for contraception? Children, actually as early as 5 years, will start asking you. So we start giving information as early as they ask it. Because they will say, Mommy, what is your smart choice? And that is contraception. You say, smart choice? Then you start from there. But then you explain that this is for adults. And for the younger adults who will say, which one do you think, Mommy, I can use? Maybe you'll have to explain to them the advantages and disadvantages of taking contraceptives. You're not married. What are you trying to control?
Lorna, do you think talking about contraceptives actually encourages children to go out and have sex?
Children are very curious. So usually when you discuss something, they want to try it out. One point I want to put across is that even as you discuss sex and sexuality, as a parent, you need to communicate your values. So what is your value? What is the whole context of sex? When does it come in? How was it originally intended? Who was it originally intended for? And so as you discuss all those issues and you discuss the environment within which it operates, then you can discuss the contraceptives. But when you remove the environment or the original intent of sex from what it was, then you're completely lost. I mean, how do you start discussing contraceptives with a 14-year-old? You need to establish boundary lines, and those boundary lines come in when you're discussing your values. Come in when they're discussing what the consequences are with the child if they go beyond these values. So as a parent, in discussing sex, establish the values you're trying to communicate. Give them the boundary lines within which to operate and consequences. And say, look, this is what happens when you go beyond the boundary line. So that even when they're experimenting, they know, man, there are consequences to this. Yeah, and I have to live with them.
Okay, let's look at children. And I say children, I mean the older ones, because realistically, some children actually are sexually active even as early as, unfortunately, 13, 14, 12, even in the rural areas, children are actually sexually active. How do you have this conversation with a child that is already sexually active? Assuming you never had the talk from the time that they were very tender, and now you suddenly discover either she's pregnant or you stumble upon information that makes you realize she's having sex. How do you have this conversation?
You will have this conversation by, first of all, like you said, you'll be shocked. But being shocked and continuing being shocked is not going to solve the problem of this child who is in trouble. You will calm down, you will sit the child down, you will talk to her. Normally she has her own fears. Then you first understand what she's scared of, and then you tell her that there is a chance to start, okay, there is what we call secondary virginity. You've had sex, maybe you are not yet pregnant, we thank God. Although it was not good to have sex at the time you had sex, or maybe because we do not talk about sex, then we can start from there and show her the consequences, show her how she can actually stay safe, because we are now working backwards to recover her from maybe the trauma she could have got because of that early sex, or maybe she was misled by friends. So you wouldn't, although it is not easy to say, oh God, let me just take it, but it's very important to be calm and handle that situation. Because if you become so tough, then you lead her into doing something even much worse.
You push her away from you.
Yes, push away from you further, and therefore put her in the hands of the poor waiting for her to destroy her mom.
Laura?
Personally, I would use it as a learning experience. I would want to hear from the child what their experience was, what they learned from it, what they regret about it, and what they think they can use now to move on. And based on that, I would guide them to make the right decisions. If it was an issue of friends, then we'll begin discussing how do you make the right choice of friends? What did you do that didn't help you, and so how can we do it better? If it was an issue of ignorance, then I would want to introduce information to them that would help them make the right choices. Like she says, you're working backwards now, so you're trying to work with from the mistakes that they have made to teach them to make the right choices thereafter.
Okay, and what should a parent do if their child goes to school, assuming you've had a conversation with the younger children, you've had this conversation at home, and then your child goes to school and actually shares this information with other children who unfortunately their parents have not had this conversation with them. What should a parent do? And it comes back to you, because imagine they call you at school and they say your child was saying X, Y, Z to other children. How would you deal with that?
But I think that depends on what type of information you gave your child that would scare away people, that would make the school administration call you back. Like I said, age-appropriate information. You are going to senior one, we are discussing about how you behave as a boy, as a girl, and how you do not give in to temptation. If you surely went and discussed with your friends something like that, if you didn't give condoms or contraceptives, I think that's what would call the school administration to call you and say, here you are, destroying our children. If the information you're giving is information to build your child, I imagine the same information will be used to build other people's children. And therefore no one will be saying, here we are dying, come here and take your son or take your daughter. So the quality of information you have given is what might determine you being called or not.
Okay, Lorna.
I would actually suggest to the administration that as parents we come together and have a discussion and agree on how best to communicate to our children this very important topic. Because while as a parent you may want to talk to your child about sex, other parents may be freaked out. They don't know how to handle it.
Exactly.
But this is an opportunity. Schools are an environment, our society that can raise our children. And so we want to partner with the other parents in the school and share this information and have a common front. So I'd suggest to the administration that can we as parents have a meeting and agree on how to communicate this information. Maybe the parents who are shy and timid will take advantage of this and say, yes, let's go for it.
But what about actually telling the child that the conversation you had is private, it's a family issue, and they should not be rediscussing it? Because oftentimes the likelihood that that information is not going to be distorted is a bit minimal.
Yeah.
So what about actually telling the child, you know what, when we have these talks, this is really for you and me. It is not for you to go and have your mini sex education class. You know, because many of the things that we learn at that age, we actually learn from our peers who either hear it from relatives or parents or watch TV or magazines and all that stuff. Is that something that you think would work?
Okay, telling your child that what we have here is ours is very nice, but again it is a bit selfish. We are saying there is peer pressure. Now you're going to school. For you, I told you how to behave, what happens when. Then when I say that, now let's skip it. I'm saying maybe like now you have asked, let's give the information that is less likely going to be distorted, so that someone will go and make it look awkward when it was actually meant to make this girl, this boy stay safe. So I'm saying when we are giving information as parents, we are careful which one we are giving.
Okay, Lorna, your parting shots as we wind up. Our time is first spent.
Let's communicate values to our children. Let's broaden it from just sex and sexuality and communicate values for life. Then they will know how to even communicate with their friends what they have learned about sex. It will not just be this topic that we discuss in secret. It will be, I care for you as a person. I want you to live a full life. So let's discuss the whole picture.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Lorna Magara and Confidence Kurununji joining me on NTV Let's Talk as we look at talking to children about sex and sexuality. We'll now take another short break and return with NTV Weekend Sport.
Diru yo! It's time to go dancing in Aringo, because if you're on Airtel or Worried, you stand a chance to win up to 5 million shillings every day.
5 million!
I'm on my way coming.
Yeah.
So just be ready to enjoy this 5M.
Twabale yo mwenamba gamba. Awakazanyije kali kato. Nimbasaba muzana kazano ka diriyo. Nino muhangure sente nkizina hangura.
Yes! 5 million shillings, ayo diru yo! All you have to do is SMS the word WIN to 188, answer the simple questions that follow, and then you will enter a draw to come to NTV and get a chance to simply pick a box and win loads of cash. Only with Airtel.
Hundreds of men arrive in this city every hour. They come to make a name for themselves. My friend Sam made his name by making names for others. He believes a man's name finds its meaning not in what he says, but in what he does. Every man must find it within himself to give everything he does, everything he's got. If he does that, he'll make himself a name worth putting up in lights. A name that is made of more.
Win big in the Saddle-In Scratch to Win Bonanza. You could win a fridge, TV, airtime or motorbike and lots more. Also, you get to enter a grand draw to win a car or a plot of land. Go to your nearest Saddle-In dealer and for every 100,000 shillings you spend, you get a scratch card to win a prize instantly. Get more than paint in the Saddle-In Scratch to Win Bonanza. Saddle-In. Color your world. Terms and conditions apply.
NTV Sport is brought to you by
A name that is made of more.
Welcome back. In a look at NTV Weekend Sport, KCC men volleyball team improved their chances of returning to the top flight National Volleyball League by winning Game 2 of the national playoffs. The former volleyball giants came into this game trailing to Ginger Volleyball Club after losing Game 1. However, they took Game 2 and are now tied.
KCC men volleyball team who are relegated to Serie B last season stand a chance to return to the main league if they can win the third decisive tie of the semi-finals. The former national champions who went down in the first game of the semi-final to Ginger Volleyball Club by 3-2 avenged their defeat by beating the Ginger Boys in the second game by 3-1. Now the winner of the third game will automatically rejoin Serie A alongside the other finalists.
We failed to win Game 1 because we didn't play very well as a team, and some of our key players were also still doing exams, national exams. Now that they have finished and we have all of them back, I think going into Game 3, we're going to have a very good team standing very well, and if all goes well, we're going to be back in the top flight.
Meanwhile, Sky Volleyball Club beat Wazei by 3-0 to qualify for the final of the Serie C National League. The games continue tonight. Sam Mpoza, NTV Sport.
We now turn to boxing, where Fred Muhumza and Sula Segawa last night overcame Patrick Amote and Have Zongo in the World Boxing Federation Africa Lightweight and Welterweight qualifier held in Kampala. Zongo suffered a technical knockout while Amote went through the 10 rounds, but Muhumza impressed the judges.
Fred Muhumuza and Sula Sega made statements on the International Professional Boxing Arena as they registered victories against Kenya's Patrick Amote and Congo's Have Zongo respectively. Muhumuza though had to go through all the 10 rounds to secure a win against Kenya's Patrick Amote. The Kenyan received a rain of punches resulting to a cut, but he endured until the end of the 10 rounds of the welterweight contest for the judges to rule in favor of Muhumuza. I had enough training and I've also been performing well in the ring, but I just knew these people could not allow me win this fight.
The guy was heavy and the fight was strong anyway. The fight was good and strong. Managed to target everyone who comes, who wants me, he can come.
In the other international bout, 6 rounds were enough for Sula Segao to see off Congo's Have Zongo. The Congolese failed to walk his talk of an early knockout, several punches forcing him to the carpet. Despite the setback, Zongo managed to complete the 6th round but lost him and threw in the towel for Segao to register a knockout. The next round of the qualifiers are scheduled to take place in January. Alfred Odong, NTV Weekend Sport.
Well, that's all we had time for in NTV Sport tonight.
A name that is made of more.
Welcome back. Now a reminder that in tonight's NTV Weekend Poll, we asked you whether the solar eclipse is a scientific phenomenon or a spiritual occurrence. Thank you so much for all your comments tonight. I'll now sample some of them, starting with Edwin Eddy, who says it is just a natural occurrence like when the rainy or dry season is predicted. Nothing else. Catherine Maisha says it is neither spiritual nor scientific. And our final comment tonight is from Brian Kwesiga, who says, biblically, everything happens depending on God's will. There is nothing that will ever happen on its own. Only pagans will reckon this scientific or whatever. And that's all we could sample tonight. Thank you once again for your comments. That's all the news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Rukshana Namuimba, and be sure to stay tuned to NTV throughout tomorrow to catch a live broadcast of the solar eclipse viewing in Pakwach. Good night.
NTV, turning on your world.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Mr. Money!
Send your money instantly. Top up your airtime instantly. Pay your bills instantly. Airtel money instantly. Send your money instantly. Safety is guaranteed. It don't matter how far it is. It reaches safe and quickly. Pay your water bills immediately. Do the same for electricity and also pay for DSTV. Or top up airtime real quickly. Send your money instantly. Top up your airtime instantly. Pay your bills instantly. Airtel money instantly. With Airtel Money, you can send money across networks, pay bills, top up to get bonus, and more. With Airtel Money, you can do more instantly. Dial *185# to get started.
Airtel Money. Simple, secure, instant.
How deep is your love? If you really love and care for your children, get tested for HIV. Put your love to the test. Visit your nearest Good Life clinic or health facility for HIV counseling and testing. It's free, fast, safe, and confidential.